I had just been reborn. Before me, the nanny's daughter, Wen was covering her face, her eyes red as she stared at me. The slap mark on her face was one she had just given herself, yet she cried as if she had suffered a great injustice, her voice soft and trembling. Sister Bai Shu, I know you dislike me, but how could you hit me just because my two brothers didn't accompany you camping and stargazing last night? As soon as the words were spoken, two tall bodyguards angrily stepped in front of her. Bai Shu, is it just because we didn't go camping and stargazing with you last night? How dare you lay a hand on Wen? Exactly, you kneel down and apologize to Wen right now, or we won't let you off. I lowered my gaze, looking at my perfectly intact hand. In my previous life, it was at this moment that they drove me into a panic. I awkwardly explained, saying it wasn't me who did it, that Wen was lying, but no one believed me. They forced me to kneel, to apologize, to hand over jewels worth millions to make Wen happy. From that day on, everyone in the Bai family silently accepted that I, the real eldest lady, was weak and easy to bully. Later, the power of the Bai family was seized by my adopted brother, Bai Yanzhou. My fiancé, Su Xingchen, climbed to the top by stepping on me. Two bodyguards treated Wen like a little princess, shutting me, their master, out time and again, and I, on the day after the wedding, was locked in the basement by the four of them and tortured to death. On her deathbed, Wen crouched in front of me, smiling as she said, Bai Shu, so what if you have the Bai family, in the end, your brother, your bodyguard, your fiancé, all of them loved me. You're the most unnecessary person in this family. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day when all the tragedies began. Since fate has brought me back, then in this life, it's time for the unnecessary ones to be replaced. I raised my eyes and looked at the two bodyguards before me, who had been trained by the Bai family since childhood and had grown up alongside me. Shen Jiheng, Shen Jiyu, they eat the white family's food, wear the white family's clothes, and take the white family's high salary, yet they have long since treated themselves as Wenyi's dogs. Do you really think you're the master here? I raised my hand and slapped both of them without hesitation. Slap, slap, the hall fell into sudden silence. I said coldly, two dogs, how dare you snarl at your master, Manager Su? Isn't our African mining company short of manpower lately? Send these two blind dogs over there right away. Steward Su stood aside, his eyes suddenly lighting up. It was as if he had finally waited for this day, his tone rising slightly above his usual level. Yes, miss. The two bodyguards were completely stunned. They covered their faces, looking at me in disbelief. This time, I didn't cry, didn't explain, didn't beg them to believe me. They finally realized, Bai Shu, having lived a second life, was no longer the fool who could be easily manipulated in her previous life. Wen quickly stepped in front of Shen Jiheng and Shen Jiyu when she saw them being beaten. Sister Bai Shu, you can hit me if you want, but how can you hit the two brothers? I know, it's all my fault. I sprained my ankle last night. I shouldn't have called my two older brothers back. Hearing her familiar, teasing words, all the absurd and ridiculous memories from my previous life flashed through my mind. Last night was my birthday. Shen Jiheng and Shen Jiyu personally promised to accompany me on a camping trip in the wilderness to watch the stars. They said it was my first birthday after my parents passed away, and they couldn't let me be sad alone, but the tent had just been set up when called, saying she had sprained her ankle. The two brothers immediately panicked, leaving without even a complete explanation, driving off in their only car. They left me alone in the wilderness. The mountain wind was cold, and it was pitch black all around. In my previous life, I felt anxious, yet I still made excuses for them. I thought, when was injured, they were just too worried, but later I found out, this wasn't the first time. The three of us had agreed to go to the concert together. I held the tickets, waiting at the entrance from dusk until the show ended. The phone wouldn't connect, and no one replied to my messages. Finally, I came across Wenyi's social media post. In the photo, Shen Jiheng and Shen Jiyu were hugging her from both sides, smiling brightly at Disneyland. The caption read, "Spend a magical day with our little princess, at Wen, stay happy forever." In the comments section, two people were vying to coax her. One called her a little fool, the other said he'd accompany her again next time, and I stood alone in the square after the event ended, my ticket crumpled in my hand. The cold wind made me shiver all over. I contracted the virus at the same time as Wen. The two brothers from the Shen family stayed by Wenyi's bedside for 7 days and nights, not even offering me a glass of water. I had a high fever and fell into a coma. When I woke up, I only saw Manager Su, his eyes red, standing by the bed. In my previous life, I always thought that if I were just a little more understanding, they would eventually remember my kindness, but they wouldn't. A beast that has eaten its master's food for too long will only come to believe it is entitled to it. Last night, they drove away in the only car and left me stranded in the wilderness. I had no choice but to call Butler Sue to come and pick me up. By the time I returned to the Bai family, it was already dawn. When E was waiting in the hall, seeing me, she didn't say a word, slapped herself across the face, then fell to her knees with a thud, and thus, this scene unfolded before me. In my previous life, I was left speechless by her trick. This time, I will make her understand. Slapping oneself in the face is a cheap trick the first time, do it too often, and you're asking for trouble. Shen Jiyu finally reacted, his voice trembling with anger. Bai Shu, how dare you hit us? Is it just because we went to take care of Wen Yi last night? Shen Jiheng's eyes were filled with darkness. Bai Shu, it seems we've truly spoiled you too much, which is why you've become so arrogant and domineering. Seeing this, Wen immediately knelt on the ground, tears streaming down her face. It's all my fault. Sister Bai Shu, I don't deserve the care of the two brothers. Please don't take your anger out on the two brothers. After saying that, she actually started slapping herself, the sound echoing loudly. The two Shen brothers were heartbroken. They hurriedly grabbed her from both sides. Shen Jiheng even pulled her into his arms. Enough, it's Bai Shu who's been spoiled and arrogant, acting so domineering. How could it be your fault? Wen Yi, you're just too kind-hearted, which is why you've always been bullied by Bai Shu. Shen Jiyu frowned as he looked at me. Bai Shu, get down on your knees and apologize to Wen Yi right now, or don't blame us for ignoring you. Wen Yi's eyes were red as she hurriedly tugged at the sleeves of the two brothers. Brother Jiyu, Brother Jiheng, please don't fall out with Sister Bai Shu because of me. It's all my fault. I'm just the daughter of a nanny. Shen Jiyu comforted her again, then glared at me angrily. Bai Shu, are you deaf? Get down on your knees now. Wen Yi looked up at me, a flash of defiance quickly passing through her eyes. I smiled too. In my previous life, it was these two ungrateful people, together with my foster brother Bai Yanzhou and my fiancée Su Xingchen, who conspired to kill me. The day after my wedding, they locked me in the basement. When he found me annoying, so Shen Jiheng personally covered my mouth. When Yi disliked me, and Shen Jiyu held my hand, making her step on my fingers one by one, breaking them. She said, Bai Shu, these hands have touched too many good things. I feel sick just looking at them. Later, Su Xingchen, through her husband's identity, inherited the Bai family's billions in assets, and immediately turned around to hold a wedding with Wen Yi. Bai Yanzhou and the Shen brothers smiled and offered their blessings. They stepped on my corpse to welcome their so-called happy ending, and I died with my eyes wide open. Now I have returned. Do they still want me to kneel? I looked at the two brothers who were still barking like dogs, and a cold smile curled on my lips. Shen Jiyu, Shen Jiheng, you've eaten my food, drunk my water, and it's the Bai family that raised you from the ground up, you two dogs, yet you want your master to kneel, too. I turned to look at the butler, Steward Su. What would have been the fate of such a treacherous servant who doesn't know their place and turns against their master in ancient times? Steward Su is an old-timer in the household. He has watched me grow up since I was a child. In my previous life, he had advised me more than once to set rules, but I always felt that since we grew up together, we shouldn't draw such clear boundaries. It wasn't until after my death, when my soul drifted over the Bai family, that I saw Manager Su kneeling in front of my memorial hall, his hair white and his sobs nearly choking him. He kept repeating, Miss, it's my fault, I failed to protect you. Only then did I realize that the people in this house who truly cared about me were never many. Now, hearing my question, Manager Su's eyes suddenly lit up. Miss, such a dog-like servant would have definitely been beaten to death in the past. I shook my head slightly, with a hint of regret. Too bad they were born in a good era. Then slap me. Whenever they realize their mistake, that's when they stop. Upon hearing this, Manager Su immediately wore a relieved smile on his face. Yes, miss. With a wave of Butler Su's hand, the 8 bodyguards behind him immediately stepped forward. They restrained Shen Jiyu and Shen Jiheng, one on each side. What are you doing? Let us go. Shen Jiyu was both shocked and furious, struggling with all his might, yet no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't break free. Shen Jiheng glared at me, his eyes seeming to spit fire. Bai Shu, are you insane? You really dare to lay a hand on us? Slap. In response, Butler Su personally stepped forward and delivered a resounding slap. How dare you shout our young lady's name so disrespectfully? Steward Su's expression was stern. Such unruly creatures, the young lady is kind-hearted and treats you well, yet you two dogs have forgotten who is the master and who is the servant. Beat them, keep hitting until they remember the rules of the Bai family. Slap, slap, slap. The sound of slaps echoed continuously through the hall. These 8 bodyguards were personally brought out by Manager Su. They only recognized the Bai family, only obey orders. Shen Jiyu and Shen Jiheng initially cursed angrily. Bai Shu, how dare you treat us like this? Don't you fear we'll never speak to you again? You can forget about us protecting you in the future. Your brother will make you pay when he comes back. I almost laughed out loud. My brother, Bai Yanzhou, he's just an outsider adopted by the Bai family. In my previous life, he used his status as an adopted son to control the Bai family, and in the end, he personally locked me in the basement. The first person I want to skin and dismember in this life is him. The slaps grew heavier and heavier. The shouting of the Shen brothers gradually faded away. The pain finally brought them to their senses. Their gazes toward me shifted from shock and anger to fear. Shu, please stop hitting us. We won't make you apologize. Is that okay? We were wrong. I looked at them coldly. Not enough. The dog should endure it if the master doesn't tell it to stop. Both of their cheeks were swollen and red, with blood trickling from the corners of their mouths. When Yi was completely dumbfounded, she thought I would still be like in my previous life, rushing to explain, rushing to please, rushing to give them a way out, but this time, I not only didn't explain, but also slapped her in public. When Yi panicked for a moment, but she reacted extremely quickly, immediately throwing herself in front of me, crying and pleading, Bai Shu's sister, please don't, it's all my fault, please, spare Jiyu and Jiheng. Stop hitting them. 3. The nanny, Wen Ma, also hurriedly knelt before me, pleading tearfully, Miss, please stop hitting them, or when the eldest young master returns, he will never let you off. I lowered my head and saw the diamond bracelet on her wrist. At that moment, memories from my past life nearly overwhelmed me, darkening my vision. This bracelet was my mother's favorite piece of jewelry while she was alive. Back then, my father had bid an astronomical price at the auction house, spending 100 million to win it for her. After my mother passed away, I put it away in the keepsake cabinet and never had the heart to take it out again. In my previous life, I didn't find out until after I died. Wen's mother had long since claimed this bracelet as her own. She wore my mother's keepsake, putting on airs as the lady of the house in front of the servants. When Yi once wore my mother's jade necklace to a banquet, laughing and saying it was the Bai family's coming-of-age gift for her. Back then, I was locked in the basement, with no chance to even ask a question. Now, this bracelet is on Wen's mother's hand. I spoke slowly. Mrs. Wen, if I remember correctly, that bracelet on your hand is a relic from my mother. I'm just a little curious. Why is my mother's thing worn on your hand? Mrs. Wen's face turned pale. I continued, this bracelet was bought by my father at an auction house for my mother back in the day. It's worth 100 million. Purchase records, appraisal certificates, insurance archives, all can be verified. You do have some taste. What, 100 million? The servants watching the commotion around them immediately covered their mouths in surprise. How dare Wen's mother? Oh my God, she actually stole the lady's things. How dare you take such valuable jewelry? The husband treated her so well during his lifetime, and she even stole his belongings. Wen's mother was completely dumbfounded. She never expected that by coming out to plead for mercy, she would end up getting herself involved. She hurriedly hid the bracelet in her sleeve, her eyes filled with terror. Miss, I was wrong. I really had no idea this bracelet was so valuable. I just borrowed it to wear for a while. Please forgive me this once. Considering I've served you since childhood, I'll never dare again. I ignored her and turned to look at Butler Su. Take people to search Mrs. Wen's room. Let's see how many more things from the Bai family she has stolen. Steward Su's eyes flashed with a cold gleam as he immediately bowed. Yes, miss, I've long suspected that old woman wasn't clean-handed, but before. He didn't continue, but I understood what he meant. The me from before was too weak. Even if Butler Su finds out something, I would let it slide for the sake of so-called affection. In my previous life, it was my cowardice that allowed these parasites to thrive. In this life, I will personally dig them out one by one. Butler Su waved his hand grandly. 2 bodyguards immediately stepped forward, ignoring Wen's mother's cries and struggles. They pinned her down and dragged her to the side for supervision. The others quickly headed toward Wen's mother's room. This scene momentarily made the Shen brothers, who were still being beaten, forget the pain on their faces. They stared in shock at everything before them. When Yi's face turned deathly pale, her mother secretly took things from the Bai family, secretly selling some inconspicuous small items to supplement her income. Of course, She knew about it, she even secretly encouraged it, in her previous life. She used that money to buy luxury brands and jewelry, crafting the image of a pampered goddaughter of the Bai family, but she never expected her mother would dare take even the priceless heirlooms, and she certainly didn't expect me to expose it all in public today. Sister Bai Shu, don't, my mom is just confused for a moment. She has served your Bai family for so many years. Even if she has no merit, she has at least endured hardships, right? When he rushed forward to grab my leg, but I kicked her away. Damn thing, I let out a cold laugh. With such a little effort, you dare to steal the owner's priceless relic worth over $1 billion, such a daughter you've raised, daring to frame the master openly and stir up discord. You mother and daughter truly share the same bloodline. Soon, the bodyguards who went to search returned a delicate jewelry box, several pieces of expensive luxury items, a few limited edition bags, and my father's wristwatch collection, which he had kept for many years. One by one, they were placed in front of me. Miss, the housekeeper found all these in a box under the bed in Mrs. Wen's room. The bodyguard opened the jewelry box. Inside were not only several valuable pieces of jewelry, but also a royal green jade necklace. Butler Su picked up the necklace, his face turning ashen. This was something the mistress wore frequently during her lifetime, and this watch, the master has collected it for many years. The more he looked, the angrier he became, his eyes almost blazing with fury. You damned old woman, it was the lady who pitied you and allowed you to move in with your daughter in the first place. The Bai family has taken great care of you and your daughter, yet you've done such despicable things, lower than pigs and dogs. The evidence was conclusive, and the entire room erupted in uproar. The servants had long been dissatisfied with Madame Wen after the lady's death. She took advantage of Wen Yi being protected by several men and acted as if she were half the mistress of the house. Not only did she refuse to work, but she also frequently insulted the other servants. Now, seeing her misfortune, everyone's eyes were filled with suppressed satisfaction. I glanced at those stolen goods. A cold laugh echoed in my heart. In my past life, I was truly blind and foolish, allowing this mother and daughter to manipulate me so easily. Steward Su, my voice was icy, call the police, hand over the evidence to the police and deal with it according to the law. No, don't call the police, miss, I was wrong, I really know. I was wrong. Wen's mother finally reacted, crawling and stumbling to my front, desperately kowtowing. Please, for the sake of my years of service to the Bai family, forgive me this one time. I'll return everything to you. Really, I'll return it all. Wen Yi also panicked. If they really called the police, her mother's life would be ruined. She would never be able to hold her head up again in the Bai family. She hurriedly followed suit by kowtowing. Sister Bai Shu, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have provoked you. Punish me however you want. Just don't call the police. I looked down at them from above, my eyes filled with mockery. Who's your sister? You're just a maid's daughter. How dare you? Now you know to beg for mercy. When your mother stole, when you framed me, why didn't you think about the consequences? Too late, Manager Su. Have someone take them away. What kind of thing deserves to dirty my eyes? The butler waved his hand. The bodyguards stepped forward to pull the two of them away, waiting for the police to arrive. Wen's mother wailed like a slaughtered pig, only shutting up after being scolded by the bodyguards. Wen Yi cried out, trying to grab her mother, but was also forcibly pulled away. Just then, a cold, furious shout came from the doorway. Stop it, all of you. I looked up. A young man in a tailored suit hurried in. His face was sharp as if carved by a knife, his expression dark and gloomy. He is precisely the adopted son of the Bai family, my nominal elder brother, Bai Yanzhou. In my previous life, it was by stepping on the reputation of the eldest young master of the Bai family that he seized actual control of the Bai group. He should currently be attending an important business event. Clearly, he rushed back upon hearing the news. As soon as he entered, he saw the scene of the Wen family mother and daughter being dragged, the Shen brothers with swollen, red faces, and the room in complete disarray. His eyes instantly turned red, and he glared at me angrily. Bai Shu, what on earth are you doing? His gaze was sharp, filled with undisguised disgust and reproach. Making a big fuss at home early in the morning. It seems I've been too lenient with you, which has led to your arrogant and overbearing personality. Hurry up and have someone release Aunt Wen and Wen Yi. The Shen brothers and the Wen mother-daughter pair lit up the moment they saw the newcomer. Wen Yi cried out desperately, Brother Yan Zhou, save me. They seem to have found their anchor. Constantly crying and accusing me of my atrocities. It was the same in the previous life. Whenever Bai Yanzhou appears, Everyone automatically assumes he can make decisions on my behalf, and I, the true heir, can only be silenced by his single phrase, "Don't be unreasonable, what a pity, this life is different, let go." I felt like I had heard the biggest joke of all time and sneered. A thief who stole nearly 200 million yuan worth of property from the host family, a nanny's daughter who framed and slandered her master. What makes you think I'd let them go? Who gave you the nerve? Bai Yanzhou was taken aback, clearly not yet grasping the situation. What are you talking about? Steward Su stepped forward and spoke respectfully. Young master, the young lady is not speaking nonsense. The evidence is conclusive. We found a large amount of the late madam's jewelry and the master's watches in Wen Ma's room. The value is close to 200 million, and we caught her red-handed. The lady was preparing to hand it over to the police for legal handling. Bai Yanzhou looked at the valuable items presented by Steward Su, then, seeing the guilty expressions on the Wen family mother and daughter's faces, his complexion changed several times. He was momentarily speechless, but quickly regained his composure and glared at me with resentment. Even if Aunt Wen made a mistake in a moment of confusion, couldn't it have been handled privately? Do you have to make it known to everyone? Are we still going to have any dignity as the Bai family? He said, then angrily pointed at Shen Jiyu and Shen Jiheng. What about them? What exactly did Jiyu and Jiheng do wrong? Are you going to humiliate them in this way? They are your personal bodyguards. Bai Shu, you're becoming more and more lawless now. Lawless? My gaze suddenly turned cold. These two treacherous servants, eating the Bai family's food and taking the Bai family's money, yet their hearts are entirely devoted to the nanny's daughter. They have bullied me, the master of the Bai family, forcing me to kneel and apologize to the nanny's daughter. Is it truly me who is lawless, or are they the ones turning the world upside down? You, Bai Yanzhou was so angry that his chest rose and fell violently. They told you to kneel and apologize, so just kneel. If you hadn't kept bullying Wen Yi, would they have forced you to apologize? If you were half as sensible as Wen Yi, how could they treat you like this? I raised my hand and slapped him across the face. Slap. The crisp sound of the slap suddenly echoed through the villa's hall. Everyone was stunned. 5. Bai Yanzhou stared at me in disbelief, his face ashen, anger, humiliation, and the panic of having his identity as an adopted son publicly insulted all mingled together in an instant. He was most sensitive about others bringing up his origins. In my previous life, I was afraid of making him sad, so I never said a word in public. But what did my consideration earn me? It was his own order to the servants: lock the young lady in the basement and let her calm down for a few days. It was him standing outside the door, letting me cry until my throat bled, yet he refused to open it. I looked at him and said, word by word, Bai Yanzhou, don't forget who you really are. I am the eldest lady of the Bai family, the mistress of the Bai household. You're just an adopted son my parents took in. The Bai family has given you a comfortable life and a respectable status, not to let you lose your sense of right and wrong and come to accuse me, the sole heir of the Bai family. This family, it's surnamed Bai. Which of your turns is it, you adopted son, to teach me how to do things? My words exploded like a thunderclap. The entire room was stunned. Bai Yanzhou trembled as he pointed at me, momentarily unable to speak. After a long while, he finally gritted his teeth and said, good, very good. His angry eyes carried a heavy threat. Bai Shu, don't forget, I am now the president of the Bai group. If that's the case, you'll never be allowed to enter the group again. I almost laughed at him. In my previous life, it was this very sentence that frightened me. I thought the Bai family had been completely under his control. I dared not seize power, dared not resist, and in the end, I was completely sidelined. But after being reborn, the first thing I remembered was my father's will and the equity documents. The true master of the Bai family has always been me. I opened my phone, pulled up the electronic versions of the equity transfer agreement and my father's will, and handed it to him. Bai Yanzhou, open your dog eyes wide and take a good look. I am the sole heir of the Bai group and the largest shareholder of the company. Removing you as president is just a matter of my word. You won't let me into the group. Are you crazy? Or am I crazy? Bai Yanzhou's eyes flickered. I turned to the butler and said sharply, Steward Su, contact Assistant Qi and all the major shareholders, starting today. Remove Bai Yanzhou from all positions in the group. Announce it immediately. The group president will be personally assumed by me. Hearing this, Manager Su's eyes sparkled with excitement, his eyes nearly turning red with emotion. Yes, miss, I'll take care of it right away. He had waited for this moment for far too long. In his previous life, he had reminded me many times, both openly and subtly. Bai Yanzhou had placed his own people within the group, marginalized the elders, and used Wen Yi's small company to transfer resources, but I was blinded by family affection, always believing my brother would never harm me. Later, the Bai family was hollowed out. Only then did I realize that the so-called brother had long been eyeing my family fortune. Manager Su immediately took out his phone to contact Assistant Chi and the major shareholders of the group. He is an old servant of the Bai family. He served the old master, and also served my father. Over the past few years, he's been suppressed by Bai Yanzhou, and has long held a grudge. Now that I've given the order, his tone has returned to its former firmness. Bai Yanzhou was completely stunned. He stared at the will and stock certificates I had produced, listening to Butler Su resolutely carrying out the orders. A chilling cold shot up from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. No, don't, you can't do this, Bai Yanzhou screamed in horror. He could no longer maintain that arrogant and indifferent demeanor, his face filled with panic. The group is at a critical stage of transformation, and several major projects that have been planned for years are being personally overseen by me. You can't fire me. What if the group runs into problems? Are you worthy of your parents? He still wants to use the group's interests to hold me hostage. I looked at him coldly, filled with mockery. Pei Nanfeng, former vice president of the original group, double Ph.D. in economics and law from Ivy League. He once transformed a small company on the brink of bankruptcy into an industry leader. You demoted him just because he was dissatisfied that you left an important business event early to go shopping with Wen Yi, right? On business acumen, do you think he's more capable, or is it you, the waste from a diploma mill? Keeping you in the CEO position is the biggest loss for Bai Corporation. I paused, looking at him with disdain. The Bai family's business, I will personally take over and handle it myself. Don't trouble yourself, you outsider who bites the hand that feeds you. The two words, outsider, pierced through Bai Yanzhou's last remaining psychological defense like a knife. His face turned pale instantly, and he nearly collapsed to the ground. His greatest confidence came entirely from his identity and power as the president of the Bai Group. Now, I effortlessly stripped him of it. He finally knew fear. The servants and bodyguards around him dared not even breathe. Today, the young lady not only dealt with the unruly servant and bodyguards, she even slapped the usually arrogant fake young master without hesitation, and dismissed him as easily as she pleased. Wen Yi and the Shen brothers were completely stunned. The biggest pillar of support in their eyes had just collapsed. 6. No, Bai Shu, you can't. Bai Yanzhou still tried to struggle, his voice filled with pleading, but I didn't even bother to look at him, turning to Steward Su and adding, Uncle Su, notify the group security department. Immediately revoke Bai Yanzhou's office keys and all access permissions within the group. Give him 24 hours to clear out his personal belongings. Anything left after the deadline will be treated as trash. Yes, miss. Bai Yanzhou was now utterly desperate. He looked at my cold profile and finally realized that the woman before him was no longer the weak younger sister he could manipulate at will. All his status, power, and pride, all of it was crushed by me in that moment. He rushed forward and grabbed me. Sister, I was wrong. You can't do this to me, I'm your brother. I turned my head and gently patted his cheek. Brother, back then, when Yi falsely accused me of pushing her down the stairs, I asked you to check the surveillance footage, but you said it wasn't necessary, right? You locked me in the basement for 3 days and 3 nights. Was that you, just because when Yi wanted to eat dog meat, you immediately ordered someone to stew my golden retriever that I had raised for 3.5 years? Was it your command? Did you just say that they wanted me to kneel and apologize, so I should just kneel? Now you realize you're my brother. Where's your face? Every one of my accusations struck like a heavy hammer, crashing into Bai Yanzhou's face. His face was pale, his lips trembling, yet he couldn't utter a single word in reply. The contemptuous gazes of the people around him fell upon him, more painful than death. He lunged at me again, tears streaming down his face. I was wrong, Shu, it's brother's fault. Brother will make it up to you from now on. Looking at his tears, I only felt sick. In my previous life, he cried just like this before I died, but not for me. It was Wen Yi who said she was frightened by the blood in the basement. He held her in his arms, comforting her while ordering someone to drag me farther away. He said, don't let such filth scare Yi. That sentence, I remembered for an entire lifetime. You're not wrong, I said coldly. You've finally learned to be afraid. I no longer looked at him and instructed Butler Su, Uncle Su, lock Bai Yanzhou in the basement. Without my permission, no one is allowed to let him out. After 24 hours, I do not wish to see any of Bai Yanzhou's belongings anywhere within the Bai family's properties. Butler Su lowered his head in acknowledgement. Yes, young miss. 2 bodyguards quickly stepped forward, flanking Bai Yanzhou on either side. No, Bai Shu, you can't do this. I am the eldest son of the Bai family. I am your brother. His voice grew increasingly shrill. I watched expressionlessly as he was dragged away. In my previous life, when he locked me in the basement, I cried and called him brother. He didn't turn back. This time, it's his turn. This is just the beginning. At that moment, an angry voice suddenly rang out. Bai Shu, why are you causing trouble again today? Yanzhou is your brother. How could you treat him like this? The person who arrived was none other than my fiancé, Su Xingchen. For the sake of Wen Yi, everyone's here today. Perfect. Saves me the trouble of looking for each of you one by one. Wen Yi seemed to see a savior once again, crying out loudly, Star brother, sister Bai Shu wants to call the police to arrest my mom, and she also wants to lock up Yanzhou brother. Hurry and persuade her. Su Xingchen walked up to me, frowning slightly. Bai Shu, aren't you just jealous of how we treat Wen Yi? Must it come to this? Let go of Yanzhou right now, and apologize to Aunt Wen and Wen Yi. Let's just let this matter go. Seeing that I was silent with a stern expression, his tone softened a bit. All right, stop making a fuss. You need to be more generous. Then I'll like you, understand? In my previous life, he always told me to be generous too. When Wen Yi broke my mother's keepsake, he told me to be generous. When Wen Yi took the stock token my father left for me, he told me to be generous. On the eve of the wedding, Wen Yi wore my wedding dress to take photos, and he also told me to be generous. Later, I was tortured to death, and he stood at the entrance of the basement, not even glancing at me. He only said, Bai Shu, if you had learned to be generous earlier, you wouldn't have ended up like this. Now, hearing those two words again, I raised my hand and slapped him across the face. Be magnanimous, your mother. The action was sharp and merciless. 7. Su Xingchen clutched his swollen, red face, his eyes filled with disbelief. He probably never imagined that I, his former fiancé who had always obeyed him and granted his every request, would slap him in public. The hall fell into silence once again. Everyone knew that I used to treat Su Xingchen's words as gospel. If he said east, I wouldn't dare go west. He said he didn't like clingy girls, so I swallowed my grievances and didn't go looking for him. He said Wen Yi was pitiful and asked me to give way to her. I kept giving away things that belonged to me, but now, I don't want to give in anymore. I've elevated Su Xingchen too high. After a brief moment of daze, he suddenly flew into a rage. Bai Shu, how dare you hit me? I've been too lenient with you. I'm telling you, if you don't kneel down and apologize today, I will never forgive you. I was infuriated by his outrageous remarks. Forgive your mother. Another slap landed on his face. Su Xingchen, who gave you the nerve? 5 years ago, you and your mother were involved in a major car accident. Hit by a sports car, your mother died on the spot. At that time, your car was already on fire, and you were trapped in the driver's seat, barely clinging to life. You forgot who risked their life to save you, didn't you? Su Xingchen was suddenly jolted. The scene from that day finally flashed back in his mind. He had been dragged out by me for less than 3 seconds when the car violently exploded. If it weren't for me, he would have died long ago. It was also at that time that I developed an unwarranted soft spot for him. It was only later that I learned he was the illegitimate son of the Su family. It was precisely because of my pursuit that he was recognized by the Su family and became the heir of this generation. These 5 years, I've been utterly devoted to him, yet he's been constantly around the daughter of a nanny. Before my father passed away, he gave Su Xingchen the family heirloom Buddhist beads. The next day, those beads appeared in Wen Yi's hands. I was furious and rushed to snatch it back, but Wen Yi deliberately smashed the prayer beads. Back then, Su Xingchen was the same, urging me to be magnanimous. In my previous life, I endured it. I endured until I lost my life. In this life, I don't want to endure even a little. I reached out and slowly patted his face. Su Xingchen, you're nothing but a bastard of the Su family. What gives you the right to become the successor of the Su family? 5 years ago, when the Su family business was on the verge of collapse, who saved it? Don't you have any idea? If you obediently act like a good dog, wagging your tail and begging for mercy, I might still give you some benefits, but you actually want me to be magnanimous. Should I kneel down and apologize to you? I turned to Manager Su and instructed, Uncle Su, have Assistant Chi issue an announcement on the official website now. Su Xingchen has improper conduct. I, the Bai family, unilaterally cancel the engagement with the Su family, simultaneously terminate all cooperation with Su's enterprises. Go and do it now. Butler Su's face turned red with excitement. Yes, miss, I'll notify Assistant Chi immediately." Upon hearing my words, Su Xingqian's face instantly turned deathly pale. He staggered back half a step, his voice sharp as he cried out, "No, Bai Shu, you can't. The engagement was an agreement between the Bai and Su families. How can you unilaterally cancel it? And the cooperation, those projects, agreement," I sneered at him. "An agreement with an ungrateful, lowly bastard. My Bai family cannot afford such disgrace." I took a step forward, my gaze sharp as a blade. "As for cooperation, Su Xingqian, your Su family has barely maintained its current dignity over the years by sucking the blood of my Bai family. Now, I'm not willing to let you suck anymore. Do you understand?" Su Xingqian felt a chill run through his entire body. He finally realized that I'm not the same as before. Without Bai's orders and financial support, the Su family simply couldn't survive. Once the Bai family completely terminates cooperation and withdraws investment, who among the other partners would dare to offend the Bai family? The Su family is not far from bankruptcy, and as the one who messed everything up, he was also a rootless illegitimate child. The Su family would never let him off. He finally became afraid. He knelt on the ground with a thud and crawled over to tug at my skirt. "Shoo shoo, I was wrong, I'll never dare again. Please give me another chance." "Okay, give you a chance." I looked down at him from above, with not a trace of sympathy in my eyes. "Su Xingqian, have you forgotten who just made me kneel and apologize, telling me to be magnanimous? Now you realize you were wrong. It's too late. The chance was gone the moment you allowed Wen Yi to shatter my mother's keepsake, when you joined forces with them to play me for a fool. All that remained between us was a reckoning. Su Xingqian, I can pull you back from the brink of death. I can also kick you right back over the edge." Su Xingqian met my icy gaze and shuddered violently. "I was wrong, Shu Shu. Please don't give up on me. Just treat me like a dog. I'll never treat you the way I used to again." He tried to grab the hem of my skirt, but I kicked him away. I looked down at him and suddenly smiled. "Su Xingqian, let me tell you one more thing. The person who killed your mother back then was Wen Yi, the one you hold so dear in your heart." Bai Yanzhou was sitting in the passenger seat at the time, that sports car. He also helped get rid of it. "If you don't believe me, you can ask him." Wen Yi and Bai Yanzhou's expressions changed instantly. My words exploded like thunder. The entire villa hall fell silent. All eyes instantly focused on Wen Yi and Bai Yanzhou. Su Xingqian suddenly looked up, his eyes filled with shock and disbelief. He is the illegitimate son of the Su family. He grew up with his mother, relying on each other for survival. His mother endured countless hardships to raise him. She is the most important person in his life. In my previous life, Su Xingqian was completely deceived by Wen Yi. It wasn't until long after my death that he accidentally uncovered the truth. By then, the Su family had already gone bankrupt, and Wen Yi had run off with the money. He knelt before his mother's grave on a rainy night, crying like a madman. After my death, my spirit witnessed that scene and found it utterly laughable. If regret were of any use, there wouldn't be so many wronged souls in this world. In this life, I won't wait for him to find out on his own. I will personally hand him the knife. Let him see clearly what kind of thing the person he cherished most truly is. Su Xingqian seemed not to have heard my words, or perhaps he simply couldn't accept it. His lips trembled as he repeated, "What did you say?" "The person who ran over my mom is Wen Yi." Bai Yanzhou, who was being restrained, turned deathly pale and shrieked, "Bai Shu, stop talking nonsense. You're spouting nonsense. Xingqian, don't believe her. She's just trying to sow discord." Back then, all the evidence clearly. Hearing Bai Yanzhou almost slip up, Wen Yi was terrified and quickly interrupted. "No, it wasn't me, brother Xingqian. You have to believe me. Sister Bai Shu framed me. She just doesn't want to see you being kind to me." Their intense reactions, urgent tone, and the panic hidden in their eyes, all of it confirmed the truth in my words. Even a fool could see it. They have a problem. Is it true? Su Xingqian's voice became distorted, hoarse and rough. He slowly stood up, staring intently at Wen Yi and Bai Yanzhou. That gaze seemed to want to devour them. "Look at me, answer me. Was it really you?" "No, it wasn't." Wen Yi still wanted to argue, but under Su Xingqian's murderous gaze, her voice grew softer and softer. She didn't even dare to meet his eyes. What else was there for Su Xingqian to not understand? Bai Yanzhou also panicked instantly, stammering incoherently, "Xingqian, don't listen to Bai Shu's nonsense. She's crazy. She's taking revenge on us." Yes, it's revenge. Just calm down, calm down." Su Xingqian suddenly let out a chilling laugh. "Ha ha ha, calm down. How am I supposed to stay calm? I grew up without a father. My mother raised me all by herself. You killed my mother, and then you played me for a fool. now you want me to calm down. He suddenly looked at Wen Yi. The affection and tenderness in his gaze vanished completely, only boundless disgust and hatred remained. I actually treated you, a murderer, like a treasure, time and again. For your sake, I hurt the person who saved my life. For you, I've ended up losing everything. Ha! He suddenly turned to Bai Yanzhou, gritting his teeth. And you, Bai Yanzhou, I trusted you so much, treating you like a real brother. You actually helped cover up for this murderer, you beasts. Utterly despicable, overwhelmed by intense anger and a sense of betrayal, Su Xingchen completely lost control. He suddenly let out a sharp scream, grabbed the fruit knife from the coffee table, and lunged at Wen Yi like a madman. You damned murderer, you lied to me, you've been lying to me all these years. Give me back my mother's life. In those bloodshot eyes, there was nothing but madness to destroy everything. He stabbed Wen Yi 13 times in the chest. At this moment, what love, what being the beloved, what little princess, all of it became the most ironic joke. 9. It all happened too quickly. No one expected Su Xingchen to suddenly lose his mind and violently attack someone. By the time the bodyguards rushed forward to stop him, Wen Yi's chest was already a bloody mess. She collapsed to the ground, her body convulsing a few times, then went completely still. The hall was filled with a thick, suffocating smell of blood. Screams erupted all around. Wen's mother threw herself beside Wen Yi, sobbing so hard she nearly fainted. Wen Yi, my daughter, wake up, look at mom, call an ambulance. The two Shen brothers and Bai Yanzhou stared blankly at Wen Yi, who lay in a pool of blood. It was as if their entire world had collapsed with the death of this so-called beloved female lead. Su Xingchen was disarmed by the bodyguards and pinned to the ground. He looked at Wen Yi's corpse and laughed maniacally. I watched this farce coldly, ending in such a bloody manner. With little emotion stirring in my heart, in my previous life, Wen Yi died too late. She had trampled over my life, enjoying far too much wealth and favor that did not belong to her. In this life, she died at the hands of her most faithful follower. How ironic, it was a deserved fate. The police arrived quickly. I instructed Butler Su to hand over the surveillance footage from the hall, the evidence of Mama Wen's theft, and the materials proving Bai Yanzhou's cover-up of the crime and asset transfer to the police. In my previous life, I only learned where these pieces of evidence were hidden after my death. In this life, I had Butler Su keep an eye out in advance and had already prepared copies. I never fight a battle I'm not sure of winning, nor will I hand the knife to someone else like I did in my previous life. Su Xingchen, Bai Yanzhou, and Wen Ma were all taken away. Wen Ma was involved in theft, with funds amounting to nearly 200 million. She won't be getting out easily in this lifetime, in addition to shielding the perpetrator and destroying evidence. Bai Yanzhou also used his position as group president to transfer a large amount of assets to the small company under Wen Yi's name. The amount involved is enormous, enough for him to regret being born while serving his sentence. Su Xingchen committed murder on the spot, and the evidence is conclusive. The best outcome for him would be to spend the rest of his life paying for it. Finally, only the two Shen brothers remained kneeling in the hall, continuously kowtowing and begging for mercy. Miss, we know we were wrong, please give us another chance. We were blinded by greed, we'll never dare do it again, we will surely be loyal from now on. I looked at their terrified expressions, feeling not the slightest pity. In my previous life, when they pinned me to the ground, I also begged. I said I was in pain, I said I didn't harm Wen Yi, I said I was the eldest lady of the Bai family, Bai Shu, whom they had watched grow up since childhood. But how did they respond to me? Shen Jiyu said. Miss, you think you're worthy, Shen Jiheng said. A single tear from Yi is worth more than your entire life. Now, it's just a matter of the tables turning. Steward Su, I spoke slowly and deliberately. Isn't our mining company in Africa short of personnel? These two dogs are still within their contract period. Hurry up and send it over. Steward Su smiled with relief. Yes, miss. The two Shen brothers' expressions changed abruptly. No, miss, we really know we were wrong. We grew up together. Shu, you can't be so cruel. I watched them being dragged away, my tone calm. Grew up together since childhood, so you should know better than anyone that I despise betrayal the most. Go to Africa and learn some discipline properly. If you can't learn, then die there. Their cries grew farther and farther away. The hall finally fell silent. I stood where I was, slowly exhaling a breath. The resentment that weighed on my chest in my previous life has finally dissipated for the first layer, but this is not enough. Wen Yi is dead, Su Xingchen is ruined. Bai Yanzhou went in. Wen's mother was finished. The Shen brothers were also sent away, but the traces left by their gnawing on the Bai family still remained. What I want to reclaim is not just my life, but the entire Bai Group. 10. For the next 3 months, I officially took over the Bai Group. The loyalists Bai Yanzhou had planted within the group were eliminated one by me. Those who should be reported to the authorities were reported, those who should be sued were sued, those who should be held accountable were held accountable. He thought he had been flawless all these years, but in his previous life, he had boasted too many times in front of Wen Yi. He said which department belonged to him, which accounts had been tampered with, which projects can transfer funds. After my death, I was trapped in the Bai family and overheard too many secrets. Now, all these secrets have become the blades of my revenge. I have invited Pei Nanfeng back to the group. He pushed up his glasses, looked at the appointment letter I handed over, and remained silent for a long while. Miss Bai, I thought you would never wake up. I smiled. Waking up late is better than dying early. Pei Nanfeng didn't ask too many questions, just accepted the appointment. I'll help you bring the Bai family back. I nodded. Not for me, it's to help the Bai family, and also to help my parents. The resources that Bai Yanzhou had transferred away over the years were gradually reclaimed by me. The small company under Wen Yi's name was shut down. The Su family, having lost the cooperation with the Bai family, soon faced a broken capital chain. The Su family hated Su Xingchen with a passion. They spent a lot of money hiring lawyers, but in the end, they couldn't change the fact that he had committed intentional murder. Su Xingchen tried several times to see me while in detention. I never went to see him once. In my previous life, I cried and called his name in the basement, but he never turned back. In this life, he knelt and begged me to meet him once, but I won't turn back either. Bai Yanzhou did write me many letters, though, the first letter, he was still accusing me of being heartless, saying I was blinded by hatred. The second letter, he began to apologize, saying he was just too concerned about Wen Yi, which is why he neglected me. The third letter, he said he was having a very hard time inside and begged me to help him for the sake of our parents. As for the later letters, I couldn't even be bothered to open them. Butler Su asked me what to do with it. I said, burn it. He smiled and agreed. When the flames rose, I stood by the window, watching the ashes drift away bit by bit. Like that foolish and cowardly Bai Shu from my previous life, he was finally completely burned away. Half a year later, Wen's mother was sentenced for stealing a large sum of money. Bai Yanzhou was sentenced to multiple charges including economic crimes, harboring the perpetrator, and destroying evidence. Su Xingchen was sentenced to life imprisonment for intentional homicide. After the Shen brothers were sent to Africa, they initially tried to escape, but their contracts, breach penalties, and work visas were all clearly arranged. The mining area is no amusement park. No one would indulge them as I did in my previous life. I heard that Shen Jiyu fainted from heatstroke while moving or under the scorching sun. Shen Jiheng knelt down, crying and shouting, wanting to return to the country. When Butler Su showed me the photos, he asked, Miss, should we recall them? I only glanced at it. In the photo, the two of them were sunburned beyond recognition, with not a trace of their former arrogance left on their faces. I said calmly, no need, the Bai family doesn't keep useless dogs. 11. A year later, the Bai group was back on track. I secured my position as president with lightning speed. At first, the outside world was waiting to see the joke. They said I was just a spoiled young lady who would eventually ruin the Bai family fortune, but they never saw the Bai family decline, only waited for the Bai family to secure 3 major projects in a row, doubling their market value. When journalists interviewed me, they asked why I suddenly became so decisive. I looked into the camera and smiled calmly. People should live for themselves at least once. After saying those words, I saw my face reflected in the glass curtain wall not far away, young, clear-minded, and proud, no longer the pitiful wretch who was pushed around in my previous life. Later, I went to my parents' graves. I placed the latest Bai family financial report in front of the tombstone. Mom, Dad, the Bai family hasn't fallen. The legacy you left me, I've protected it. Those who harmed me have also paid the price. The wind blew through the cemetery. I lowered my head and placed a bouquet of white roses. Actually, since I came back to life, I rarely cried. Perhaps the tears from my previous life had already dried up long ago. In this life, I only want to win. Later on, I occasionally heard news about those people. Wen's mother went mad in prison, constantly shouting Wen Yi's name. Bai Yanzhou couldn't stand the drop in status and got into a conflict with his cellmates, resulting in 2 broken ribs. Su Xingchen was quiet and reserved in prison. Some said he often stared blankly at the wall, sitting there for an entire day. He finally understood what it felt like to be trapped. Shen Jiyu and Shen Jiheng had worn down their tempers in the African mining area. They had someone bring back a letter. The letter read, Shu Shu, we know we were wrong, please let us go home. After reading it, I couldn't help but find it laughable. Home, since when has the Bai family become their home? I tore the letter into pieces and threw it into the trash can. Don't they like being dogs for when since the dog has mistaken its master, it should bear the cost of mistaking its master. 2 years later, the Bai Group officially became the industry leader. I was invited to attend a business forum. After the forum ended, Pei Nanfeng accompanied me out of the venue. He suddenly asked, "Miss Bai, have you ever regretted it?" I knew what he was referring to. Regretted sending those once close people into the abyss with my own hands. Regretted letting Wen die at the hands of Su Xingchen. Do you regret ruining Bai Yanzhou, the Shen brothers, and Su Xingchen's lives? I stopped in my tracks, gazing at the distant lights. In my previous life, I asked myself this many times, if only I hadn't liked Su Xingchen so much back then, if I hadn't trusted Bai Yanzhou so much back then, if I had discovered Wen Yi's true nature earlier, would everything have been different? But there are no ifs. It is true that I was killed by them, it is true that the Bai family was swallowed up by them, it is also true that everything my parents left behind was ruined. So in this life, I have no regrets. Pei Nanfeng, I spoke calmly, the pain is only known when the blade falls on oneself. What they owed me in the last life cannot be repaid with just a word of regret. Pei Nanfeng fell silent for a moment. He didn't ask me what the previous life meant, he simply gave a slight nod. I understand. I smiled and turned to get into the car. Outside the car window, the city's neon lights rapidly receded. I remembered the moment of rebirth, when covered her face, while the Shen brothers forced me to kneel. At that time, everyone thought I would cry and explain just as I had before. They didn't know, the demon that crawled back from hell never explains, it only claims lives. This life, the drama of the beloved young lady is about to end. The real eldest daughter of the Bai family is just beginning to go all out. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. In my past life, when my sister-in-law was 9 months pregnant and wanted to become a lucky charm for a wealthy businessman, I told her that not only did these charms have no real effect, but they also endangered the fetus and were extremely dangerous. She half believed me and gave up the idea, but from then on, whenever anything went wrong, she would complain, "It's all because my sister stopped me from becoming a lucky charm back then. Otherwise I wouldn't be so poor and miserable now," after seeing her best friend become a lucky charm and not only give birth to twins but also win $1 million lottery. My sister-in-law and my brother went mad with rage. They blamed me for blocking their good fortune, stuffed my mouth full of gravel, and caused my internal organs to rupture. I died in excruciating pain. When I opened my eyes again, my sister-in-law was excitedly saying she wanted to become a lucky charm. "Sis, have you heard about lucky charms? So many pregnant women around me who are as far along as I am are doing it. They say it not only brings good luck but also pays 300,000 yuan." In my ears was the voice of my sister-in-law, Zhang Xinyuan, enthusiastically explaining the concept of lucky charms to me. I suddenly opened my eyes and saw myself sitting across from Zhang Xinyuan. My mouth was still intact, not stuffed with stones, and the crushing pain in my stomach was gone. I wasn't dead, I was alive and well. I was so overjoyed I nearly burst into tears. Seeing that I wasn't responding, Zhang Xinyuan pushed my shoulder impatiently. "Sis, did you even hear what I said?" I immediately slapped her hand away, producing a crisp sound. Looking at Zhang Xinyuan's face, I felt my teeth grind with hatred. "I heard you, just talk. No need to get handsy. So it's about lucky charms. I've heard of them. If you want to do it, just go ahead. Why ask me? They say lucky charms attract wealth and fortune. It's a rare opportunity. Congratulations to you." Zhang Xinyuan rubbed the back of her hand and replied smugly, "I knew it was a good thing. Don't worry, sis. If I really strike it rich, I'll definitely give you some money to spend. Let Ji Zian know I'm leaving." Without waiting for my response, she picked up her bag, supported her belly, and walked out the door. Watching Zhang Xinyuan's eager retreating figure, I sneered coldly behind her. In my past life, it had been just like this. Zhang Xinyuan had somehow heard about becoming a lucky charm and was very tempted. She came to ask for my opinion, but I told her what I'd heard. These so-called pregnancy lucky charms were actually schemes by wealthy businessmen who paid large sums to hire heavily pregnant women, then deliberately caused them to miscarry during the ritual to transfer luck to themselves. It was their luck being transferred, but it was marketed as bringing luck to everyone. Not only did the pregnant women lose their babies, but their bodies also suffered severe harm. So back then, I persuaded her to avoid such crooked practices. Zhang Xinyuan agreed. frightened by the risks. Who would have thought that within just a couple of days, Zhang Xinyuan went crying to her brother Ji Zian, complaining that I was deliberately preventing her from getting the fortune pearl, because I was afraid she would have a change of luck. She said that after her best friend got the fortune pearl, not only did she win $1 million in the lottery, but her children were also healthy, a pair of dragon phoenix twins. However, Zhang Xinyuan didn't know that the reason her friend had that million was because, after getting the fortune pearl, the wealthy businessman gave it to her. As for the dragon phoenix twins, they had died long ago. The businessman, afraid that people would stop providing him with fortune pearls, paid off the friend's family to publicly claim the children were fine, and when Zhang Xinyuan complained to Ji Zian, she deliberately hid the fact that the fortune pearl required intercourse with the wealthy businessman, only saying it had the power to change one's fortune. At that time, Ji Zian was struggling at work and drowning in online loan debt. Hearing about $1 million that slipped through their fingers, coupled with Zhang Xinyuan constantly complaining by his side, filled Ji Zian with resentment. The two of them plotted together and ambushed me as soon as I opened the door after getting off work. They said my mouth brought harm, so they stuffed it full of small stones of varying sizes. I died in agony as the stones crushed my internal organs, but they told everyone I had died suddenly from an illness. After my death, they lived in my house, spent my savings, and raised their children, living happily without a care. But now I won't stop them. I want to see for myself whether Zhang Xinyuan getting the fortune pearl will actually change her luck. As soon as Zhang Xinyuan left the house, I followed behind her. Once outside, I watched as Zhang Xinyuan was picked up by a luxury car and taken to a lavish villa. I didn't stop recording, capturing every moment of it. Sure enough, not long after, Zhang Xinyuan emerged from the villa clutching her stomach, her face twisted in pain. A middle-aged man in custom-tailored clothes, with a greasy, protruding belly, quickly arranged for someone to send Zhang Xinyuan away. This middle-aged man must be that wealthy businessman. I've seen him on TV a few times. I think his name is Gu Junliang. They took Zhang Xinyuan to a hospital. As soon as she was carried in, her painful moans could be heard. The doctor arrived quickly and, while examining her, scolded her. "You're already 35 weeks pregnant, didn't you know? How could you be so careless? But then again, Zhang Xinyuan will do anything for money, wouldn't she?" Zhang Xinyuan was groaning in pain, and the doctor quickly sent Zhang Xinyuan to the operating room. I didn't leave, but stayed waiting at the hospital entrance. Because Zhang Xinyuan's situation was special, there was no time to contact her family, so they performed the surgery first. The surgery ended quickly. As expected, Zhang Xinyuan's baby could not be saved, although it had already taken shape and had vital signs. I don't know if Gu Junliang was seeking some kind of thrill, but the baby stopped breathing as soon as it was born, its little face turning blue and purple. I was just wondering how Zhang Xinyuan would handle the aftermath after making such a big scene this time, when she tearfully called Ji Zian, "Husband, come to the hospital quickly." The baby couldn't be saved. Ji Zian was extremely agitated. Standing at the door of the ward, I could hear his heart-wrenching questioning. After hanging up the phone, Zhang Xinyuan lay on the hospital bed playing with her phone, occasionally giggling at it. I knew right away she was chatting with Gu Junliang. After all, having finally hooked up with such a wealthy tycoon, being his mistress was much more comfortable than staying with Ji Zian. Otherwise, in my past life, Zhang Xinyuan wouldn't have held such a deep grudge against me. As soon as Zhang Xinyuan saw Ji Zian's figure, she quickly put her phone away and began crying pitifully. "Husband, I'm sorry. It was all because of my sister." She said the luck bead was fine, so I went. Who knew it would end up costing us our baby? When Aunt Ji saw Zhang Xinyuan's flat stomach, she was absolutely furious. "What luck bead? What is that thing?" To prevent Ji Zian from blaming her, Zhang Xinyuan tearfully explained that she had wanted to earn some money to help support the family, and, without holding anything back, she transferred all 300,000 yuan to Ji Zian. Ji Zian was currently being hounded by those online loans, and seeing 300,000 yuan, how could he still care about Zhang Xinyuan's anger? He visibly let out a sigh of relief, but Ji Zian furiously called me. I casually turned off the recording and answered the phone. "Ji Zian, do you know you've killed Xingyuan? Your nephew is gone now. Get to the hospital quickly." Ji Zian barked orders at me, not even calling me sister, and hung up after saying his piece, with old and new grudges combined. I naturally had to go see what trick they were up to. However, I wasn't in a hurry. I ate and drank my fill before returning to the hospital room, and on the way, I went to find the attending doctor and took Zhang Xinyuan's test report. Just as I reached the door, I heard Ji Zian telling Zhang Xinyuan about his plan. When my sister gets here, we'll say she killed the child and make her pay the hospital bills. After all, this was her nephew, she's the aunt, so she has to take responsibility. Zhang Xinyuan's eyes immediately lit up. But will your sister agree? Ji Zian replied impatiently. Don't you know my sister? Ever since our parents died in the car accident, she's raised me, from childhood till now. Whatever I wanted, she never refused. Don't worry, if I yell at her a couple more times, she might even pay for the child's platinum. Zhang Xinyuan was amused by Ji Zian. Husband, so you don't blame me. After all, this was our child. Ji Zian waved his hand. Hey, at first I was really angry, but then I thought about it. We're still young, we can have more kids later. Besides, trading one child for over 300,000 yuan is worth it. I felt a chill run through my body. Was this even human speech? When did my brother become such a cold-blooded, heartless beast? After our parents passed away, I played both father and mother, raising Ji Zian even though I'm only 3 years older. Now she's married, and to help support her more, I didn't even dare to get a boyfriend. But not only does she not remember my sacrifices, she takes my kindness for granted. I really want to slap myself. How could I have been such a brother-obsessed fool? Luckily, I still have a chance now. From now on, I will only love myself. I will never meddle in Ji Zian's affairs again. I pushed open the hospital room door and walked in, just in time to see Ji Zian flirting with Zhang Xinyuan. There was no trace of grief over losing a child. Instead, Ji Zian immediately started shouting, "Sis! Can't you knock before barging in? You have no manners at all. Your nephew was killed because of you. Pay up." He then held out his hand. "You just got your salary yesterday. You're the one who put Xinyuan in this state, so hurry up and pay his hospital bill. Oh, and our emotional damages too." Ji Zian grew more and more animated as he spoke, but I simply walked over and slapped him across the face. "Ji Zian, do you know your mouth stinks? If you don't want it, donate it to someone who needs it. Don't just flap your lips and spew filth." I've spoiled Ji Zian rotten since he was little. Now that he'd been hit, he looked utterly incredulous, feeling even more humiliated in front of Zhang Xinyuan. "Ji Zian, are you crazy? Why did you hit me?" I backhanded him across the other cheek, leaving 2 perfectly symmetrical red fingerprints. "I'm your sister, you'd better watch your tone with me." Zhang Xinyuan, lying in the hospital bed, had been watching with gleeful schadenfreude, but my 2 slaps left him stunned too. "Ji Zian, it was you who harmed our child. How dare you act so self-righteous now? Have you no shame? Someone who can put a cuckold's horns on Ji Zian has no room to talk about shame. Why should I feel ashamed?" Ji Zian, who had been glaring at me with simmering rage, instantly forgot all about it the moment he saw the video in my hand. "Zhang Xinyuan, your child was clearly suffocated by you playing too many tricks with the fortune bead. What does that have to do with me?" Zhang Xinyuan, upon seeing the footage on my phone, panicked completely, struggling to climb down from the hospital bed to snatch my phone. Ji Zian, however, saw everything clearly from start to finish. He quickly walked over to Zhang Xinyuan's side, grabbed her hair, and said, "You bitch, how dare you cheat on me behind my back? I'll kill you." Ji Zian struck much harder, slapping her so hard that blood trickled from the corner of her mouth. Zhang Xinyuan, however, ignored the pain on her face and kept explaining, "Zian, this isn't real, this must be a video your sister synthesized. I have evidence." As she spoke, she reached for her phone, which clearly contained the voice recording from when she first asked me about the fortune bead. My words were, "The fortune bead can attract wealth and gather blessings. This is a rare opportunity. Truly congratulations to you." The recording played on a loop in the hospital room. Zhang Xinyuan now looked like a madwoman, her hair disheveled, staring at me with a triumphant gaze. "Did you hear that, Zian? My heart belongs only to you. How could I ever do something to betray you?" Ji Zian indeed turned his anger toward me. "Why didn't you stop her?" "Ji Zian, I've finally realized it. You just can't stand to see me happy, can you? Do you think just because you're older than me, you're an old woman with no one to love you and no children? Now that I have a wife and a son, you're jealous and deliberately trying to harm Xinyuan." I simply took the hospital diagnosis report from my bag and slapped it onto Ji Zian's face. "See this, you fool, it's written clearly in black and white. The child suffocated in the womb due to external stimulation, leading to an induced abortion. Do I need to spell out what external stimulation means? Besides, is Zhang Xinyuan a 10-year-old child? Does she do whatever I tell her to? Your own wife in her pursuit of quick money, didn't hesitate to sacrifice your child, and now you're blaming me. Where did she get the channel? Which friend told her about it, and who introduced her to that master? If I knew such a master, would I still be slaving away at a job? Perhaps my tone was too righteous, and coupled with the clear evidence on the hospital report, compared to my failure to stop her, it was obviously Zhang Xinyuan's deliberate infidelity and torment of the child that had a greater impact on him. So the next second, Ji Zian threw away the hospital documents, pushed Zhang Xinyuan onto the hospital bed, and slapped her several more times across the face. The sound of slaps echoed non-stop, accompanied by Ji Zian's incessant cursing in the ward. Zhang Xinyuan's screams pierced my eardrums. Finally, she cried out, "Stop hitting me, stop, husband, didn't I give you all the money I earned? Yes, you said the child isn't as important as the 300,000 yuan machine." Ji Zian, exhausted from the beating, gasped for breath twice, then grabbed Zhang Xinyuan by the neck and shoved her down. "From now on, you're not allowed to contact any other men, got it?" Zhang Xinyuan's face flushed bright red, and she could only nod repeatedly. Ji Zian even made Zhang Xinyuan open her phone and block all contact information for Gu Junliang right in front of him. Only then did he snort coldly and release Zhang Xinyuan. Having seen enough of the drama, I slipped out of the ward the moment Ji Zian let go. No way was I spending a single cent on them. Ji Zian later realized I wasn't in the ward and frantically called me, sending me a barrage of messages afterward. First, he cried poor, saying he hadn't received his salary yet and couldn't afford the medical bills. Seeing I wasn't buying it, he flew into a rage and cursed, saying I didn't deserve to be his sister, that I was selfish and heartless for not caring when his wife was in trouble. Annoyed beyond measure, I simply blocked him. When I got home, I stored all my previous jewelry and bags at my best friend's place and listed the property under my name for sale on a platform in advance/span. In the last century, Ji Zian owed a lot of money, partly from online loans, and later, it seemed he became addicted to gambling. Since I loved my dear brother so much, how could I bear to make him wait? So, I deliberately found a shady-looking gambling company online, paid to print out flyers, and placed them conspicuously around the house. Not 2 days later, the stingy Ji Zianwo couldn't bear to spend money on Zhang Xinyuan. Took her out of the hospital. The doctor had clearly said she needed to stay for a week to recuperate properly, but it had only been 3 days in total. As soon as Ji Zian got home, he started calling my name like I was a maid. "Sis, I'm starving, I want hot pot today, take us out to eat." But before he could even see me, his eyes landed on the eye-catching gambling flyer on the table, through the surveillance camera. Just seeing his expression, I knew he was hooked. Sure enough, he didn't even care about the Zhang Xinyuan behind him, who was panting. After just 2 steps, he pulled out his phone, scanned the QR code on the flyer, and started playing the game with great enthusiasm. Zhang Xinyuan finally made it to the sofa and tried to cling to Ji Zian's arm, whining, "Honey, I'm so hungry, I want fish, let's go out to eat." But Ji Zian, who couldn't be bothered to even look at her, shoved her away impatiently. "Shut the hell up, go eat by yourself, I don't have time for you." Zhang Xinyuan gasped in pain, clutching her stomach, her face pale. "Ji Zianthan, give me some money, and I'll go eat by myself." At the mention of money, Ji Zian finally looked up, but only to sneer. "What money? I don't have any. You want my life? Take it." Zhang Xinyuan was furious. "Didn't I just give you 300,000? You won't even let me stay in the hospital to recover properly, and now you won't even let me eat. Are you even human?" Ji Zian, who was grinning from ear to ear while playing his game, was utterly annoyed by Zhang Xinyuan and waved her off like swatting a fly. "Enough, enough. 300,000 isn't 3 million, it's gone before you even blink. If you want to eat, go cook yourself. Stop being so damn dramatic, will you?" Zhang Xinyuan's voice turned shrill and sharp. "I just had an induced abortion, and you want me to cook?" Ji Zian's patience had completely run out. He threw his phone onto the sofa, stood up, and made a move as if to hit Zhang Xinyuan, startling her into a shiver. "TMD, I've been giving you face, haven't I? Other women can still go work in the fields and cook after giving birth. You haven't even had the baby yet. What are you so cocky about? If you want to eat, go cook. If not, get lost. After all, I just hit you." Zhang Xinyuan, still trembling with fear, immediately shut her mouth and didn't dare say another word. In the past, if I had seen Zhang Xinyuan being yelled at like this by Ji Zian, I would have felt sorry for her. I would have made her something delicious to eat, or at the very least ordered her takeout, no matter how busy I was, but thinking of her in my past life, not only ungrateful, but also taking advantage of my good nature to constantly mock me, never showing an ounce of gratitude, and finally whispering in Ji Zian's ear on their pillow, the two of them caused my death to be so miserable, so in this life, I will never meddle in their affairs again. But Zhang Xinyuan still wouldn't let me off the hook. She picked up her phone and started typing. Rapidly, before long, my phone rang. She had sent me a full 300-word essay. First, she played the victim, saying Ji Zian was about to hit her again and didn't care about her health at all. Then she said all her money had been taken by Ji Zian, and now, just when she needed to nourish her body, she had nothing to eat and was starving. Finally, she said Ji Zian was her only family in the world, that we had no parents, and that as the elder sister, I was like a mother to her. She was in her mini confinement now, and I should take leave to stay home and take care of her during this period. I sent her a middle finger emoji and replied with just 2 words, lunatic. Watching her on the surveillance camera, Zhang Xinyuan was fuming. I immediately blocked her, seeing the glaring red exclamation mark. Zhang Xinyuan had no choice but to go back to her room hungry. I had installed surveillance cameras at home long before the two of them returned from the hospital, and now it seemed incredibly convenient. Ji Zian, noticing I hadn't come home for a long time, went to my company to look for me the next day, only to be told I had left on a temporary business trip 2 days earlier. With my phone unreachable, Ji Zian could only rage helplessly at home. Without me there to play the role of live-in maid, he and Zhang Xinyuan lived in utter chaos. Zhang Xinyuan claimed she needed to rest and recover, eating and sleeping all day. In reality, whenever Ji Zian wasn't around, she would hold her phone and send sexy private photos to Gu Junliang every day, today in a bikini, tomorrow as a seductive kitten. I found it utterly cringeworthy. However, Zhang Xinyuan didn't put in the effort for nothing. I noticed she had quietly bought herself several luxury handbags. Not even a month had passed. Zhang Xinyuan couldn't wait to meet up with Gu Junliang while Ji Zian was at work. I had just returned from a business trip to a neighboring city when I saw Zhang Xinyuan, heavily made up, about to head out. Of course, I couldn't miss this show. I followed Zhang Xinyuan to the luxurious 5-star Haoyue hotel in the city center. When Zhang Xinyuan emerged, she was shyly clinging to Gu Junliang's arm, and the two headed straight for a 4S dealership. That very day, they bought Zhang Xinyuan the latest model BMW, then took her shopping, buying her a gold bracelet, a diamond necklace, and designer clothes. All the way, Zhang Xinyuan kept calling him hubby non-stop. It was beyond cringe. I, on the other hand, was left speechless, staring at the age spots on Gu Junliang's face and the eye bags that nearly sagged to his chin. Indeed, some money is just not for people like me with too strong a moral compass. The two acted like a couple deeply in love, feeding each other mouth to mouth during meals and going to the movies together. As it was almost time for Ji Zian to get off work, Zhang Xinyuan reluctantly parted ways with Gu Junliang. By the end of the day, my phone's battery was nearly drained from all the photos I'd taken. When I got back, Zhang Xinyuan had already hidden all those luxury items in the storage room. Seeing me, she immediately started bossing me around. Why did it take you so long to get back? Don't you know I'm in my postpartum confinement? You didn't even think to bring me some bird's nest to help me recover properly. What kind of older sister are you? Utterly useless. Just then, Ji Zian also returned home from work and started mocking me, saying I was selfish and hadn't answered his calls. I didn't really catch what he was saying. All I could see was the enormous, vivid green hat perched on his head. Once I finally sorted through the day's photos, I immediately created a new account and joined our family group chat. Span ID = 0 right off the bat. I posted a photo of Xinyuan picking up the new car. The group instantly blew up. Auntie, isn't that Zian's wife? They're really doing well for themselves. This car must cost nearly $1 million, right, cousin? That's the latest model, Auntie. Even the base model starts at over $1 million. Bro, sis, I bow down to you, Auntie. 2. Wow, but who's that next to Xinyuan? He doesn't look like Xinyuan's dad at all. Could it be? I then flooded the group with a bunch of high-definition photos of Xinyuan, holding hands, kissing, feeding each other mouth to mouth, anything to make sure I wasn't the only one suffering from this eyesore. In no time, the group chat notifications hit 999 plus /span. Who couldn't see that Ji Zian's cuckold status was blindingly obvious? Which of those aunties and relatives genuinely wished him well? Look at Zhang Xinyuan, who landed a sugar daddy. Their tones were a mix of envy and sour grapes. Xing Yuan, does that man have a son? What do you think of your cousin, Xing Yuan, at your age, going for someone so much older? Auntie here is more suitable. Step aside and let me handle it. Oh, big sister, look at your figure. Rich men prefer someone like me with curves in all the right places. Xing Yuan, I'm your own aunt. Introduce me to him someday, won't you? Amidst a flurry of flashy JPGs. Ji Zian stared at his phone, his vision swimming. Zhang Xinyuan was typing furiously on her phone, her fingers flying. Stop talking nonsense, all of you. This is my godfather's cousin. I get it, sis-in-law. When there's a need, he's the godfather. When there isn't, it's godfather and cousin. Sis-in-law, godfather is just godfather. I'm begging you, godfather. Hee. Zhang Xinyuan looked on the verge of tears, clutching Ji Zian's arm and shaking it incessantly. Husband, don't listen to their nonsense. This is slander. It's slander. Ji Zian slammed his phone down and slapped Zhang Xinyuan across the face. What kind of person are you that anyone would bother slandering you, you slut? Have you hooked up with that rich businessman again? What did you promise me? As he spoke, Ji Zian seemed to remember something. He shoved Zhang Xinyuan aside and began frantically searching around, finally yanking open the door to the storage room. So many bags here, Sister Zian must have struck it rich. Ji Zian's face was terrifyingly dark. He grabbed a bag and hurled it at Zhang Xinyuan. You still claim those photos are fake? Fake my ass. Where's the car key? Zhang Xinyuan snatched the bag and clutched it to her chest. These are all mine, Zian. You can't touch my things. Furious, Ji Zian kicked her hard, then rummaged through all her bags until he finally found the car key. Seeing Ji Zian about to strike again, Zhang Xinyuan suddenly threw her arms around his leg. Husband, actually, I was planning to give you a surprise with all these things. I never expected you to find out like this. Zhang Xinyuan truly knew how to trim her sails to the wind. She claimed her heart ached for Ji Zian, who now had no money and no car. She had thought of fleecing that rich businessman for a sum and planned to tell him today. But someone had leaked the photos first. Zian, someone must be trying to drive a wedge between us. I love you, of course I do, you have to believe me. Ji Zian could get a car without lifting a finger, and how long would those designer bags last him in gambling? What's pride worth anyway? In the face of money, it's nothing. Seeing Zhang Xinyuan give Ji Zian an off face, she just went along with it, watching Zhang Xinyuan say yes grow tender. Of course I know Xinyuan, you've worked hard. Are you not in pain? Zhang Xinyuan suppressed the resentment in her eyes and shook her head. Seeing me still standing there dazed, Ji Zian and Zhang Xinyuan kept barking orders at me non-stop. Jizi, can't you see Xingyuan's leg is swollen? Can't you go get some medicine and rub it on for her? Sis, what was that look you just gave me? This is Zian. What do our car and bags have to do with you? Ji Zian stuffed the car key into his own pocket as if guarding against a thief. Don't even think about laying a finger on my car. I couldn't help but roll my eyes, thinking, I don't want your car, what I want is your lives, but I really couldn't stand this pair of drama-loving, performative nutjobs. I grabbed my phone and left the house. Staying at a hotel would be far more refreshing. By the time I checked the group chat again, Zhang Xinyuan and Ji Zian had both quietly left the group, but I knew Zhang Xinyuan would easily give up on Gu Junliang, that big tree. The reason she hadn't divorced Ji Zian yet was partly because she wanted to milk Gu Junliang dry before kicking Ji Zian to the curb, and partly, I guessed, because she wanted to swindle whatever money Ji Zian still had left during this time. Sure enough, my guess was right. The next day, Zhang Xinyuan found an excuse to ask Ji Zian for money, but she didn't know that money was like throwing meat buns to a dog, gone for good. It had long been lost by Ji Zian in gambling, down to the last penny. Honey, I recently heard from a big tycoon that investing in stocks is super profitable. That 300,000 I gave you last time could double and recoup the investment in less than a week. Ji Zian's hand paused, without even looking up. He flatly refused. At this, Zhang Xinyuan grew anxious. She dropped the comb and turned to ask, what do you mean? This is a great opportunity to make money, husband. Ji Zian, I don't know how to explain it, he said impatiently, telling her to shut up. I said we're not doing it, so we're not doing it. We have no money. Zhang Xinyuan refused to give up. What about the car? I noticed you haven't been driving it these past couple of days, and the money for the bag, Zian, that money was hard-earned by me. You have to at least tell me where it went. There was at least 155, and the 300,000 I gave you last time. Zhang Xinyuan hadn't even finished speaking when Ji Zian grabbed her hair and slammed her head hard against the dressing table. You say you worked hard, money you can earn just by spreading your legs. What's so hard about that? And didn't I tell you 100 times to stop contacting that man? You're still in touch with him, aren't you? Zhang Xinyuan was stunned, protecting her hair. She cried out in pain. You're insane, Ji Zian. When I gave you the car and the bag last time, you didn't say a damn word. You knew back then that I was in contact with another man, didn't you? What are you pretending for now? Ji Zian gripped Zhang Xinyuan's shed and banged it against the tabletop. Once, twice, again and again. You dare talk back to me? I'm your husband. You listen to whatever I say, understand? Zhang Xinyuan was completely dazed from the blows, her eyes filled with both hatred and fear. I understand, please stop hitting me. Having beaten her enough, Ji Zian snorted coldly and went back to the room to sleep. Zhang Xinyuan quietly picked up Ji Zian's phone. When she saw Ji Zian's long list of debt records, she nearly went mad. He had originally planned to profit from both sides, but now he found himself with not a single penny to show for it. Instead, he had been completely swindled by Ji Zian. How could he possibly tolerate this? So, the very next day, the moment Ji Zian opened his eyes, Zhang Xinyuan sweetly and tenderly offered him advice. Husband, how did you end up with so much debt? Ji Zian panicked for a moment, then immediately turned hostile. How do you know I'm in debt? Did you steal my phone and try to transfer money? Zhang Xinyuan traced circles on Ji Zian's chest, coquettishly pouting. Honey, what kind of person do you take me for? It's just that the debt collectors have started calling me too. That's not the point. The point is, I have a way to keep track. I didn't think much of it. After all, he owes so much money, even he can't remember it all. It's normal for someone to call and press for payment. What, isn't this house under your sister's name? While he's not home, let's find the property deed and transfer the house to our names. That'll settle it. My heart lurched as I listened through the surveillance. Good, this Zhang Xinyuan, seeing she couldn't get her hands on Ji Zian's money, now wants to take mine. Dream on. But Ji Zian suddenly understood, and Zhang Xinyuan seized the moment to suggest, since it might cause trouble if your sister finds out later, why not transfer it to my name first? Even if she senses something's off, she won't come after you. Ji Zian hugged Zhang Xinyuan and planted several kisses on her, praising her cleverness. Ji Zian had a bit of money and didn't know his limits. After work, he was either drinking or gambling. Sometimes he'd gamble all night, his eyes bloodshot, and he'd simply call in sick and skip work altogether. The coffee table at home was littered with leftover takeout boxes, flies buzzing everywhere. The floor was covered in either delivery packaging or empty liquor bottles, with cockroaches scurrying out from time to time. It pained me to watch. This was the house I had worked so hard to save up for, now being trashed by these two spendthrifts. In my previous life, by this time, Ji Zian had already lost a fortune, but I told myself, endure it, just a little longer. The moment I was waiting for would soon arrive. It had been nearly half a month since I left on a temporary business trip when Zhang Xinyuan finally couldn't resist reconnecting with Gu Junliang. Seizing a rare day when Ji Zian actually went to work, she hummed a tune as she applied a flawless makeup look and put on her finest dress, saved for special occasions. But when she sneaked into my room, hoping to borrow my nice handbag and wear my necklace, she found them all gone, left with no choice. She could only wear her own long outdated jewelry to the rendezvous. I bolted upright from the hotel bed. I knew Zhang Xinyuan wouldn't let go of Gu Junliang, that big tree. Our business trip had progressed quickly, and we had just returned today. Not wanting to go home, I had booked a hotel room, which fortunately wasn't too far from my place. By the time I rushed home, I saw Zhang Xinyuan leaving the house. I quietly trailed behind her and, in the process, took Ji Zian out of my blocked contacts. Zhang Xinyuan finally got out of the car and entered room 1802 at a 5-star hotel. Suppressing the excitement in my heart, I called Ji Zian. Zian, I got drunk at Haoyue and booked 2 rooms that I can't cancel. Do you want to come stay? Oh, and come alone. After all, you've been taking care of Zhang Xinyuan so diligently lately. A freebie falling from the sky. Ji Zian would never pass it up. He eagerly agreed, exaggeratingly saying I was so considerate, knowing how to look out for him. I waited in the hotel lobby for no more than 10 minutes before I personally saw Gu Junliang walk into room 1802. To make sure Ji Zian saw everything clearly, I even told him to just go knock on the door of 1802 directly, and I'd leave once he arrived. Without any suspicion, Ji Zian eagerly went to knock on the door, as soon as he saw Gu Junliang open the door wearing only a bathrobe. Ji Zian gave him a suspicious glance. Didn't my sister call me here? Who are you? Gu Junliang was very impatient but also afraid Ji Zian would recognize him. You've got the wrong person, he said, trying to close the door. Ji Zian drew out his tone, radiating the eager, gossipy vibe of someone ready to feast on drama. Oh, I get it, you're my sister's lover, aren't you? Don't even try to deny it, sis, come out quick. Before Gu Junliang could say another word, Ji Zian pushed past him and charged into the room. There he saw Zhang Xinyuan posing seductively in a sexy maid outfit. That was the spark that ignited the powder keg. Zhang Xinyuan screamed and scrambled under the covers. Gu Junliang grabbed Ji Zian, shouting about calling the police. Ji Zian punched Gu Junliang and then lunged for Zhang Xinyuan. In short, the room instantly descended into chaos. In the end, Gu Junliang had no choice but to call his bodyguards, and only then did the three of them settle down. Zhang Xinyuan's hair was a complete mess. A bathrobe draped over her shoulders, her face swollen and her lip bleeding, utterly disheveled. Gu Junliang wasn't much better off. His neck was red from Ji Zian's choking. The punch Ji Zian had landed earlier hit him right in the eye socket, leaving a dark bruise. Ji Zian was pinned firmly to the ground by the bodyguards, scratches on his arms, his face bruised, still craning his neck to curse at the heavens and the earth. Zhang Xinyuan, you're such a slut. Are you addicted to cuckolding me? Tell me, how long have you been hooking up with this adulterer? This time, Zhang Xinyuan walked over and slapped Ji Zian. Her tone dripping with disgust. Ji Zian, I want a divorce. Ji Zian was slapped. The struggling bodyguards could barely hold him down, and one of them kicked him hard in the lower back. What are you moving for? Only then did Zian calm down, but he spat toward Zhang Xinyuan's face. Pa, now that you've latched onto a rich man, you want to dump me and live the high life yourself. I'm telling you, no way. Gu Junliang had already put his clothes back on. He lit a cigarette for himself and sat on the sofa. His tone was light, but the displeasure was unmistakable. You're not divorced yet. Zhang Xinyuan, naturally, fawned over her sugar daddy. Kneeling at Gu Junliang's feet, she began to cry. I've always wanted to divorce him, but he never agreed. Junliang, I really like you. I just want to be with you. As she spoke, Zhang Xinyuan's hand began to wander up Gu Junliang's trouser leg. Looking at Gu Junliang's obviously sagging eye bags and age spots, he was clearly over 60. I couldn't help but feel a wave of disgust. Indeed, some money is just not for people like me with too strong a moral compass. But Gu Junliang ate this up. Zhang Xinyuan, seeing an opportunity, continued, Ji Zian is not a real man at all. He has little ability but a terrible temper, the slightest dissatisfaction, and he hits me. She rolled up her sleeve, revealing marks from past beatings that hadn't fully faded. He's never been good to me. I must have been blind to marry this deadbeat. After so many years, Zhang Xinyuan clenched her fists at the painful memory. I'm definitely divorcing him today. Seeing his wife groveling and kissing up to her lover right in front of him, Ji Zian was practically going mad with rage. Unfortunately, he was pinned to the ground, unable to move, like a fish struggling on a hook. Don't you fucking talk nonsense. When have I not been good to you? If Reborn is so good to you, with food and drink every day, when has he ever shortchanged you? He even let us live in his house. What the hell are you still babbling about? I didn't expect Ji Zian to mention me. Outside the door, I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. So, Ji Zian also knew I had been good to them. I thought both of them were ungrateful, backstabbing snakes. Inside the room, Zhang Xinyuan suddenly shot to her feet, letting out a piercing shriek. So, did I marry your sister or you? It's only right that your sister treats me well. You have no parents, so she has to serve me. She's an old maid who can't get married. I'm the only sister-in-law who doesn't look down on her. Gu Junliang, also annoyed by the commotion, glanced at his watch and cut her off. Enough, enough. I'll leave 2 bodyguards with you. Whether you want them to take you home or to get the divorce certificate is up to you. Zhang Xinyuan, overjoyed, immediately went to hug him. Gu Junliang kissed her twice right in front of Ji Zian, his tone dripping with sweetness. Honey, you're so good to me. Once I handle things here, I'll make it up to you properly. When she mentioned making it up, Zhang Xinyuan even threw Gu Junliang a flirtatious glance. Gu Junliang just gave her but a squeeze and left without another word. Chapter 1802. Xing Yuan watched Ji Zian, still pinned to the ground, and wished she could curse him with every foul word she'd ever known. she even put on her high heels and stomped on Ji Zian's back several times, making him howl in pain. "Let's go, Ji Zian, we're getting divorced right now." With 2 bodyguards trailing behind her, Zhang Xinyuan was brimming with arrogance. She actually dragged Ji Zian home, grabbed their documents, and hurried to the Civil Affairs Bureau. The 2 bodyguards were quite dutiful, waiting until the couple emerged from the bureau before leaving. However, as soon as the bodyguards were gone, Ji Zian caught up with Zhang Xinyuan, who was about to hail a taxi. Grabbing her arm, he told the driver to take them back home. I quickly turned on the home surveillance feed. The next second, I saw Ji Zian, after closing the front door, kick Zhang Xinyuan hard in the stomach. "You filthy bitch, so that's why you couldn't wait to dump me. You've hooked up with a rich guy, huh? That loverboy's name sounds familiar. Gu Junliang. I just remembered. I heard he's loaded." Ji Zian grabbed Zhang Xinyuan by the hair and yanked her face up. "You think you can just walk away that easily? I'm telling you, no money, no deal," Xinyuan cried, trying to protect her scalp. "Where would I get money? I've given you everything I have." Ji Zian slammed Zhang Xinyuan's head against the wall with a dull thud. "You're with Gu Junliang now. Even the crumbs from his fingers would be enough for me to live on. Stop pretending." Ji Zian let out a cold laugh. "Fine, don't give me the money, then don't expect to get that divorce certificate a month from now." Zhang Xinyuan had no choice after being beaten by Ji Zan, and could only agree, bruised and battered. "I'll give it to you, I'll give you the money, but only this once." Before transferring the money, Zhang Xinyuan specifically reminded Ji Zian to keep his word. After receiving Ji Zian's assurance, Zhang Xinyuan clenched her teeth and transferred all 50,000 yuan from her phone. Ji Zian was initially dissatisfied, saying Zhang Xinyuan was treating him like a beggar, but after checking her phone thoroughly and finding she truly had no money left, he reluctantly let her go. Zhang Xinyuan grabbed her phone and ran out of the house as fast as she could. Ji Zian, however, picked up his phone and called me, immediately asking, "Ji Qianro, where are you? Didn't you say room 1802 at Haoyue was the room you booked? Why don't I see you?" On my end, I kept up a steady stream of retching sounds, letting Ji Zian listen for several minutes before hanging up. After all, I was supposed to be drunk. How could I speak normally? I saw Ji Zian curse under his breath after the call ended, then habitually opened that gambling site again, so I had to make my move before he got too caught up in it. During this time, many potential homebuyers were interested in my apartment because of its low price and great location, calling me frequently, but back then, I was still busy dealing with Ji Zian and Zhang Xinyuan, and had no time to show them around. Now, however, I couldn't wait any longer, so, the next day, while Zhang Xinyuan was out on a date with Gu Junliang and Ji Zian was at work, I seized the opportunity while Ji Zian was at his job to schedule all of them to view the apartment at my place. Thankfully, I had hired a cleaner in advance to tidy up, so it didn't look too messy. One young couple, about to get married, was very satisfied with the apartment, while the other 2 families said they needed to discuss it further. In the end, the young couple privately discussed with me and decided to give me an extra 50,000 to sell the house to them, since their wedding date was about to be set. And they were in a hurry. I naturally wanted to sell the house quickly as well. That same day, we signed the contract, and they gave me 2 days to move my belongings. However, thinking of the troublemaker Ji Zian, I decided not to accept the extra 50,000. Before leaving, I glanced at the young man's well-built muscles and couldn't help but ask what he did for a living. The young man smiled and handed me a business card, which clearly read, Su Jianqing, owner of Robust Boxing Gym. That was perfect. When Ji Zian inevitably caused trouble, this young man wouldn't let him off easy. After signing the contract that day, I threw away all the useless belongings at home. With the money from selling the house, I bought a new property in a neighborhood that I knew would appreciate in value in the future. Although it was currently in a remote location with cheap prices, I knew that a subway line would open here in 2 years. This move was a total win. After finishing the house matters, I felt completely at ease. Watching Zhang Xinyuan and Ji Zian frantically searching for the property deed at home after returning, like headless flies, gave me immense satisfaction. As Ji Zian's gambling debts grew larger, he didn't even notice that everything in my room had been cleared out. He became increasingly anxious, restless, and pacing around the house all day. Zhang Xinyuan also treaded carefully, not daring to provoke him, but she searched for the property deed even more urgently. Eventually, the debt collectors bombarded Ji Zian's phone. Unable to reach him, they even caused a scene at his workplace, costing him his job. he was forced to hide at home, even wearing a mask to pick up food deliveries and cautiously opening the door. The debt collectors even called my phone, annoying me endlessly. Unfortunately for Ji Zian, he couldn't hide at home for much longer. 2 days later, Su Jianqing arrived with a moving company to move in but ran into Ji Zian at home. Ji Zian accused Su Jianqing of trespassing and threatened to call the police, while Zhang Xinyuan looked completely bewildered. Su Jianqing flexed his bulging biceps and slapped my house sale contract onto the table, declaring that the house was now under his name and ordering Ji Zian to get out. At first, Ji Zian refused to believe it until he saw my name clearly written in black and white on the contract. Seeing Su Jianqing's muscular build and realizing he wasn't someone to mess with, Ji Zian had no choice but to pack up some of his belongings and slink out of the house. Zhang Xinyuan wailed and sobbed even more, cursing me for secretly selling the house as utterly despicable, and finally, unable to bear it any longer, she abandoned Ji Zian and ran off. Before leaving, she also cursed Ji Zian as a useless fool, a trash of a man, saying she was blind to have followed him for so many years and gained nothing. Ji Zian was furious, but Zhang Xinyuan took advantage of Ji Zian's inattention, took all the remaining money, and blocked him on everything. To apologize to Su Jianqing and the others, I removed the surveillance cameras, hired a housekeeping service, and had the entire house disinfected and cleaned. As for Ji Zian, he frantically called me, asking, "Qian Nianru, why did you secretly sell the house? Don't you know I'm still living here? Where are you staying now? Send me the address, I'm coming to find you." I curled my lips in disdain. "Why should I? You're not a helpless baby. Why do you cling to me like an octopus? Have you no shame?" Ji Zian's voice suddenly rose sharply, clearly furious. "What do you mean? Are you tired of me now? I'm your brother, our parents are dead, why won't you take care of me? You know you're my brother, but anyone else would think you're my son." I spat out my disgust at his shamelessness, seeming to sense I was about to hang up. Ji Zian immediately softened his tone, pleading pitifully, all right, then can you lend me some money first? I'm broke." Before I could reply, the sound of Ji Zian's screams, punches, and kicks came through the receiver. Don't hit me, I'm trying to borrow money, this is my sister, she has money." I heard footsteps approaching, followed by an unfamiliar male voice, speaking with an arrogant tone. "You're Ji Zian's sister, right? He owes us 10 million, pay up, and I'll let him go, otherwise, I'll chop off one of his fingers," I replied disdainfully. "You debt collectors think you can just chop off a finger and get away with it in this world. Pfft, you're nothing. And besides, he's not my brother, he's just a fool I used to support, but I'm not funding him anymore, so don't bother calling me about him again." Later, I saw Su Jianqing post on social media, "Nowadays, even men aren't safe when they go out, come to Strong Fist Boxing Gym to build up your strength." The image below was accompanied by a picture, clearly showing news of Ji Zian having his hand chopped off by debt collectors. Because Ji Zian was carrying this exact luggage bag when he left, I recognized him at a glance, but this has nothing to do with me anymore, as I've applied for another temporary business trip. My manager even promised me a promotion upon my return, as long as I do a good job expanding the new market in the neighboring city. So, the one-handed Ji Zian couldn't find me and had to turn to Zhang Xinyuan again. Perhaps Zhang Xinyuan wanted to show me how well he was living, so he didn't delete my contact. I saw him going to the Maldives to see the ocean one day and looking at villas the next, finally living the life he wanted. Clearly, he had become Gu Juanliang's mistress, but I never expected Zhang Xinyuan to come to Lin City. After finalizing the plan with a client, I escorted them to their arranged hotel and happened to run into Zhang Xinyuan stepping out of a luxury car. It has to be said, clothes really make the man, or in this case, the woman. Zhang Xinyuan was wearing a high-end dress and a half-carat diamond necklace. Anyone who didn't know better would think she was a wealthy lady, never imagining she was a shameful mistress. And then, the sneaky person closely following behind Zhang Xinyuan looked all too familiar. Wasn't that my disheveled, fleeing brother, Ji Zian? He was still wearing the same clothes he had on when he left home, stained with blood, gravel, and dust, looking like a beggar. His left hand was wrapped in a bandage that hadn't been changed in who knows how long. The white bandage had turned black with dirt. Immediately after Zhang Xinyuan went up to the hotel, my curiosity got the better of me, so I followed the two of them to their floor. Zhang Xinyuan had just opened the door when Ji Zian charged at her with a fruit knife. Since his left arm was broken, he had to use his other arm to lock around Zhang Xinyuan's throat. "Money," he demanded, Zhang Xinyuan, give me money, Zhang Xinyuan screamed as she was dragged into the room. Her hands slapping and beating against his arm, Ji Zian said, you promised you wouldn't bother me again, so why are you here? You useless waste of space, I have no money, Ji Zian, now blinded by his desperation for money, didn't believe her. He grabbed the diamond necklace around Zhang Xinyuan's neck, trying to snatch it. Zhang Xinyuan immediately panicked, struggling to get it back, and in his frenzied state, Ji Zian stabbed her. You bitch, you ruined me. If it weren't for you insisting on getting that luck-bringing bead, and giving me that 300,000 yuan, making me try gambling, I wouldn't have become a crippled wreck. Ji Zian finally found an excuse for his downfall, as if venting all his pent-up frustration, stabbing Zhang Xinyuan over and over until her eyes widened in death, refusing to close. Only then did Ji Zian, belatedly realizing what he had done, collapse onto the floor, covering his head with his only functioning right hand. No, how could I have killed someone? Bitch, get up, get up. But Zhang Xinyuan lay in a pool of blood, far beyond getting up. I sighed and dialed the police. After a while, Ji Zian grabbed Zhang Xinyuan's bag, rummaged through it, pulled out a wad of cash, stuffed it into his pocket, then used facial recognition to transfer all of Zhang Xinyuan's money, and snatched the jewelry she was wearing. But just then, Gu Junliang walked in, saw Zhang Xinyuan lifeless, and immediately turned to run. Ji Zian would never let Gu Junliang ruin his plans. He simply pulled the fruit knife from Zhang Xinyuan's body and plunged it into the chest of Gu Junliang, who was trying to flee. Adulterous scum, go to hell together. Ha ha ha, you must have a lot of money. Ji Zian, am finally going to make it big. Just as Ji Zian was pinning down Gu Junliang and laughing maniacally, the police broke in, catching him red-handed. He struggled, trying to grab Gu Junliang's phone. No, no, I'm about to be rich. Don't arrest me, don't arrest me. He couldn't bear it. He was so close to escaping this abyss, yet now he would end up with nothing. But life is unpredictable. This was Ji Zian's fate in this lifetime. Gu Junliang had clung to a last breath, but it gave out on the way to the hospital, because Ji Zian had committed intentional harm, and Gu Junliang was one of the few prominent wealthy businessmen. The impact was extremely severe. In the end, Ji Zian was sentenced to death. After Gu Junliang's death, I exposed online his act of seeking out Zhang Xinyuan to serve as a luck transfer bead, causing an uproar. Many girls came forward saying people around them had become luck transfer beads for money, uncovering a series of syndicates and wealthy businessmen. According to incomplete statistics, no fewer than 30 infants had died because of these luck transfer beads. The police even established a special task force to investigate the incident, continuously urging the public that luck transfer beads were a life-based scam. They warned people never to harm their own bodies or their children for money, sounding a loud alarm for women everywhere. On the same day, I was promoted to manager, with a salary increase of 30%, truly a triple celebration. After Ji Zian's death sentence was finalized, the luck transfer bead scandal was also nearing its end. The wealthy businessmen who had purchased luck transfer beads for fortune were exposed, their businesses boycotted and plummeting, cursed wherever they went. Although there hasn't been a definitive resolution for them yet, the road is long, and I believe dawn will eventually come. The day before Ji Zian's execution, he insisted on seeing me one last time. He kept calling me, even crying and saying he was wrong, remembering the days after our parents passed away, when we held each other and wept, working part-time jobs while supporting each other through school. I still went to see Ji Zian. His buzz cut had grown out, and he had lost a lot of weight, though not yet 30. He looked older than me. The severed left hand was no longer bandaged, just wrapped into a small bundle. Through the glass, Ji Zian's gaze at me held many indescribable things, seemingly hatred mixed with resentment, crying and laughing all at once. Nianru, my wife, why didn't you save me? You clearly knew Zhang Xinyuan would lose the child if she made the fortune bead. Why did you stand by and do nothing this time? If you had stopped her, we could still be spending your money and living in your house. This shouldn't be our ending. The moment Ji Zian opened his mouth, he ground away the last trace of softness in my heart. I let out a bitter laugh and, unable to bear it any longer, fired back. Ji Zian, what makes you think I would still play the foolishly kind person like in my past life? Isn't this exactly the outcome you all wanted in that previous life? You want to change your fortune, go ahead and change it. For people like you who only want to reap without sowing, this is exactly the ending you deserve. Ji Zian frantically slapped the glass with his right hand, how can you be so cold and heartless? I'm your brother, isn't it okay for me to live well, even if you died for me? You're my sister, your life should be mine. When our parents were alive, they always said you should give way to me and take care of me. I was truly convinced by Ji Xian's bandit logic. I shook my head at him, not wanting to waste any more words. I was truly casting pearls before swine. Ji Xian, even now, you still think you're not in the wrong. It's true. I am your sister, but I am also a person, with my own life. And my own way of living. I am not just a tool whose sole purpose is to revolve around you. The thing I regret most in this life is not having raised you properly, letting you forget gratitude. When I left Ji Xian, he was still slapping the glass behind me, shouting incessantly, I don't want to die, sister, please save me, I should have money and a house. No, sister, don't go. But now, even looking at him for one more second feels like a waste of time. After stepping out the main gate, a little boy running and laughing bumped into me, causing the lollipop in his hand to fall to the ground. A young girl, no more than a teenager, emerged from behind a tree and quickly pulled the boy over to apologize to me. Seeing me wave my hand to indicate it was fine, the girl poked the boy's forehead and scolded him as their figures gradually faded into the distance. Can't you watch where you're going? What's so great about a lollipop? Don't cry, I'll buy you another one. The boy's aggrieved voice drifted back. I'm not crying about the lollipop, I just think it's really nice to have a big sister looking out for me. The girl was tickled into a fit of giggles, her silvery laughter blowing away the heaviness in my heart. Look, this is what a normal sibling relationship should be. Only kinship that involves mutual care and reliance can endure. The outcome of endless, one-sided giving will always be a tragedy. After hearing the second story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. On the eve of my wedding, my cousin suddenly came to me in a weird way and said she wanted to borrow 3 strands of my hair. I immediately plucked 3 hairs from a big rat and handed them to her, just because in our past life, she took 3 strands of my hair under the guise of praying for blessings, and I didn't suspect a thing. But within days, strange occurrences began happening frequently. Tasks I used to handle effortlessly at work now left me distracted, creating one mess after another. My spirit grew increasingly haggard, making me look more than a year older. Meanwhile, my cousin's career flourished. Despite only graduating from middle school, she landed an offer from a top company, grew more radiantly beautiful, and became an overnight success story. My once prosperous family was on the verge of bankruptcy due to various misfortunes. In stark contrast, my impoverished uncle won a multi-million lottery jackpot with a casually purchased ticket. Within days, I was left mentally shattered by these successive blows of fate. On my way to work one day, I was dragged under a large truck and died instantly. After death, I saw my wedding proceed as usual, but the bride had become my cousin. It turned out that my fiancé had been secretly seeing my cousin behind my back. The root of all this misfortune lay in those 3 strands of hair. A dark ritual my cousin had sought from a master to transfer fate. When I woke again, I had returned to the day my cousin asked to borrow my hair. This time, I'll replace the hair with rat fur. Let's see how she'll borrow my luck in this lifetime. Kathy, pluck 3 strands of your hair for me. I want to take our hair to PT Temple to pray for blessings and fortune. Oh, and make sure it's yours. The familiar voice ringing in my ears leaves me no choice but to believe. This time, I've truly been reborn. Looking at the yellow paper package held out before me, I instinctively took 2 steps back. In my past life, it was with this very yellow paper package that my cousin Mary took 3 strands of my hair. Not only did it cost me everything, but it also led to my complete annihilation, body and soul. Seeing that I hadn't taken the yellow package for a long while, a flicker of suspicion crossed Mary's face. Soon, she questioned again with a tearful tone, Kathy, sob, do you look down on me? You're already so grown up, yet you still believe in such superstitious methods. Her reddened eyes and teardrops on the verge of falling made Jack, sitting beside her, heartbroken. He immediately stood up, took the small yellow paper packet, and handed it to me. Mary, don't cry. How could Kathy possibly look down on you? You're her own cousin. She's just always thinking about work all day long, usually so slow to react. After saying this, she kept glancing sideways at me. Mary immediately chimed in upon seeing this, and no, it's not like that. I just admire Kathy a little. She's so smart and successful in her career. I know it's superstition, but I meant well, just hoping for the best. Kathy, don't worry, it definitely won't harm you. Master Chen is incredibly powerful. Many who've received his blessings say the effects are amazing. I stared coldly at the shameless pair babbling in front of me, fury raging in my heart while maintaining a perfectly smiling facade. How could that be? You're my dear cousin, how could I not trust you? It's just 3 strands of hair, after all. Just wait, I'll go pick them out carefully in front of the mirror right now. I'll definitely pluck 3, the very best strands of hair. My cooperative attitude seemed to please the 2 of them greatly. Before I could even close the bathroom door properly, the 2 behind me were already eagerly clinging to each other. I suppressed the urge to vomit and switched my phone to video mode to start gathering evidence. In my past life, I had always taken good care of my cousin Mary. Her family was poor, so whether it was food, drinks, or clothing, I always made sure to bring her a share. Mary originally worked as an assistant in a small factory, but later she said there was an opportunity to take an entrance exam for a major company. So when Mary proposed taking my hair to pray for blessings before the exam, I didn't doubt her and handed it over without hesitation. But within 2 days, I sensed something was wrong. Tasks I used to handle effortlessly began to falter over minor details, leaving behind countless messes. Our usually peaceful and harmonious home also became plagued by constant misfortune. Either the house was leaking, or Dad accidentally got into a car accident and ended up in the ICU. The compensation costs for the upstairs and downstairs houses were exorbitant, and the ICU treatment fees were no small matter either. Before long, the family's savings were completely drained. During this period, all sorts of troubles left me mentally distracted and utterly exhausted, until my long-lost fiancé called, and after listening to my tearful complaints, he immediately said I must have offended some petty person and suggested I go to PT Temple to ask the master for help in turning my luck around. Tears streaming down my face, I silently agreed with Jack's suggestion, so we made plans to visit PT Temple together the next day to burn incense. But when I arrived at the temple entrance the following day, I saw Mary, dressed in haute couture and looking much more beautiful than before. She clung to Jack like a little bird, as if the 2 of them were truly husband and wife. Cousin, look at how you've let yourself go. Even if work keeps you busy, a woman should still take good care of herself. I tugged at the hem of my clothes, opening my mouth but unsure of what to say. Just then, a luxury car worth millions pulled up beside me. Uncle was dressed in an expensive suit and stepped out from the driver's seat, greeting me with a smile. I was utterly shocked. You uncle, what's this? For over 20 years, Uncle's family had been dirt poor. Forget suits and luxury cars, they could barely even fill their stomachs. Unexpectedly, Mary looked smug. My dad, he had his luck changed by Master Chen after I took him there, and look, the very next day, he casually bought a lottery ticket and won the first prize. My dad is here at PT Temple today to donate oil money and fulfill his vow. Cousin, I've already booked an appointment with Master Chen for you in advance. This time, I'll have him change your luck for good. After saying that, I was half dragged, half pulled into the room by her. According to the master's requirements, not only did she write my birth date and time on yellow paper, but she also took a drop of blood from my eyebrow and performed a complete fortune-changing ritual. As a result, after returning home, I not only failed to improve in the slightest, but instead became completely dull. Just one morning, on my way to the company, I was swept under a large truck and killed on the spot. And that scumbag and bitch shed a few crocodile tears before proceeding with what should have been my wedding as usual. Kathy, are you ready? Mary's deliberately high-pitched, sickly sweet voice rang out. I quickly responded, wait a moment, I'll pick 3 of the best hairs. You sit with Jack for now. As soon as the words were spoken, I saw the 2 people on the phone video tightly embracing and kissing. The occasional sticky wet sounds and ambiguous moans, I pretended not to hear them at all. Taking advantage of the lack of attention outside, I began to look around carefully. Sure enough, a clump of gray fur was found in the corner of the cabinet. Just as I picked up the fur and was about to put it into a yellow paper packet, the bathroom door was banged loudly. Kathy, what are you busy with? Haven't you finished yet? Hurry up, the factory just called Mary and told her to go back to work immediately. Although Jack's tone was urgent, I could still hear the regret in his voice. All right, I'm packing it now. You go start the car first. Later, you can take cousin back to the factory. At these words, Jack stopped urging. After a long silence, he finally spoke hesitantly. Kathy, this doesn't seem right. What if our colleague Mary misunderstands? I pretended to be very excited and shouted loudly. What's there to misunderstand? Isn't my cousin your cousin too? Let's see who dares to gossip. Hearing this, Jack no longer hesitated and immediately went out happily to drive the car. During this brief pause, I deftly stuffed the rat fur into the yellow paper packet, sealed it, and handed it to Mary. Watching her wave goodbye excitedly as she left. Standing by the window, I gazed expressionlessly at the two embracing and kissing downstairs, feeling nothing inside. I remember clearly, on this very day in my past life, Jack cut off all contact unilaterally after seeing Mary off, because he thought he had already obtained my hair. Naturally, there was no need to keep up the act. To prevent them from noticing anything unusual, following the events of my previous life, I acted every day as if I were mentally distracted and confused. I also secretly hired workers to inspect and repair the waterproofing facilities at home in advance. She even hired drivers and nannies to take care of Mom and Dad, all to prevent the tragedy of her past life from happening again. Because of this, Mom and Dad often called to scold me. I could only brush them off with excuses. It's nothing. I just got scared watching videos these past few days. Only when you're both safe and sound can I focus on working hard. After comforting my parents, I devoted all my energy to work. With even greater focus than before, I finally managed to complete the tasks at hand. The day of the accident in my previous life passed, everything remained calm, and I could finally truly relax. In the days that followed, I went to work as usual every day and continued to play the fool when I got home, until one day, Jack accidentally sent me a text message. I knew it was time to lay my cards on the table. Dr. Peter, could you please take a look? My wife has been growing unusually thick hair lately, and now her entire face is covered with tiny gray fuzz. Is this a skin condition? Here is a full-face photo of Mary. Although Jack withdrew it instantly, I saw it clearly and saved the photo. This gray fur, isn't this mouse hair? Looking at Mary's distressed expression in the photo, I almost couldn't hold back my laughter and immediately contacted the private detective I had hired in advance to investigate my uncle's movements. The private detective responded swiftly. From the materials he sent, I learned that my uncle had been involved in a car accident on his way home from work on Monday evening and had been hospitalized. Without hesitation, I grabbed a fruit basket and rushed straight to the hospital room door. Mary was wearing a baseball cap and a mask, and her jaw nearly dropped to the floor when she saw me. Kathy, what brings you here? Noticing Mary's somewhat evasive demeanor, I didn't press for details but instead walked straight past her to Uncle's hospital bed. Uncle, I heard you were in a car accident. Why didn't you tell us? Come, let me see where you're hurt. As I spoke, I pulled back the blanket in one swift motion, but what I discovered was that my uncle lying on the hospital bed not only had lost his right leg, but his facial expression was also off. He looked up at me with a twisted mouth and slanted eyes, drool continuously dripping from the corner of his mouth, soaking a large patch beneath him. An unpleasant odor instantly filled the room. Seeing that I had discovered Uncle's true condition, Mary felt awkward and kept trying to explain. Well, my dad, he was hit by a car after work on Monday. Our family simply couldn't afford the treatment, so we had to choose amputation to save his life. During treatment, they discovered a cerebral hemorrhage, and now he's paralyzed from a stroke. Other than that, he just needs proper care. No sooner had the words left her mouth than she seemed to suddenly think of something and immediately stepped forward to grab my hand. Kathy, how are Uncle and Aunt doing? Are they feeling unwell anywhere? Mary's voice was urgent with inquiry, her eyes revealing eager anticipation. I couldn't help but sneer, though my words still followed her lead. My dad hasn't been feeling well either. He kept complaining about dizziness the past couple of days. Sigh. As soon as these words were spoken, Mary's hands immediately relaxed. It was as if she had let out a sigh of relief, murmuring to herself, that's good then, that's good. Mary busied herself taking care of Uncle, while I stood to the side quietly observing. It had only been a few days since we last met, but Mary had already undergone a dramatic transformation. Though she still wore a mask covering her face, the dense patches of grayish fuzz on her cheeks had begun to take shape. Her nose bridge and lips protruded more prominently, giving her a somewhat shifty-eyed appearance. Perhaps noticing my intense gaze, Mary quickly sensed something was amiss and hurriedly adjusted her hat and mask. What are you looking at? I smiled slightly and then praised loudly. Cousin, did you go get your face done? I think your face looks slimmer and your nose bridge higher. Hearing my praise, Mary couldn't help but beam with joy, but as her gaze swept over me, she quickly suppressed her smile. You seem unchanged. I hurriedly changed the subject. Cousin, did you take your hair last time for blessings? I've been feeling pretty good lately. Maybe it's starting to work. Mary looked puzzled but still managed to force a perfunctory response. Really, that's great, but why don't I feel anything yet? Seeing Mary's strained smile, I couldn't help but curl the corners of my lips upward. Ah, that's right. I was a bit careless, seems I mixed up mouse fur with my own hair, it's all my fault for being so foolish. Ah, now that I see you're all right, cousin, I can finally relax." Hearing these words, Mary trembled from head to toe. After snapping out of it, she immediately started yelling at me. What did you say? You gave me rat fur, are you fucking insane?" Mary rushed at me in 2 steps, her face twisted as she grabbed my neck. Her face was so close I could see the dense gray fur covering her skin and her already slightly distorted eyeballs. You dare trick me, Kathy, do you want to die?" "No. You can't, right now, immediately. Pull out 3 strands of your hair for me with your own hands. Hurry up." I struggled desperately to break free from Mary's restraint, but after trying for a long time, I only felt my clothes getting tighter and tighter. Just as I was about to run out of breath, the door to the hospital room was kicked open. "Mary, what on earth are you doing? Have you lost your mind?" Jack rushed in violently, pulling Mary's arm away, while I fell flat on the ground due to inertia. Looking up at Mary's face twisted with rage, a sense of satisfaction spread through me, and I even felt like bursting into laughter, but I can't. After finally catching my breath, I began to whimper in the most pitiful tone I had ever mustered in my life. "Cousin, it was clearly an accident. Are you really going to kill me over such a trivial matter? Besides, it was just a blessing ritual. If it didn't work this time, couldn't we just ask the master again next time? Besides, what's all this about blessings? I'm a party member. I don't believe in any of this feudal superstition." Jack looked utterly confused and turned to me with a puzzled expression. "How could that be? I clearly saw you plucking hair from your head." I pouted resentfully. "But that day, I saw a clump of mouse fur in the corner of the cupboard. I was going to clean it up and throw it away, but then you rushed me, and I got everything mixed up." At this moment, Mary finally understood the reason for her recent unusual behavior. Her face turned purple with rage, her entire body trembling in anger as she suppressed her voice to a low, furious growl. How could you put mouse fur in the talisman pouch? Do you realize you could have killed me?" "I don't care, right now, you must pull out 3 strands of your hair and put them in, right in front of me." I burst into loud sobs, refusing to respond no matter what. Woo-woo, cousin, I really don't know, this was just a blessing ritual, meant for psychological comfort. How could it possibly harm you, unless this talisman has some negative? Before finishing my sentence, I turned my tear-filled eyes toward Jack. "Jack, what does my cousin mean by this? Do you know?" Only now did Jack realize he had been holding Mary all along. He quickly let go and awkwardly explained, No, I just came in and saw that scene. I was too anxious. And I was afraid she might hurt you." Heh, what an idiot. A single lie exposes countless flaws. I really don't know if my past self was too trusting of him or just too foolish to think I completely believed such a lame excuse. Seeing no response from me, Jack continued to persuade, "Kathy, no matter what, Mary is still your cousin. What you're doing hurts feelings. Here's what we'll do. I'll be the peacemaker. You just give Mary 3 more strands of hair now, and we'll consider this matter settled. Don't let it affect your sisterly bond." With Jack backing her up, Mary started acting bold. "2, that's right. Exactly, Kathy, I'm angry precisely because you don't take me seriously. In that case, I'll do Jack a favor. As long as you give me 3 strands of hair right now, we'll consider this matter settled." Looking at the pair of adulterers before me, putting on such a righteous act, I found it ridiculous. They're treating me like a fool. Suddenly, my uncle on the hospital bed let out a violent cough. It grew increasingly intense, until it turned into bouts of dry heaving. Mary immediately stood up, picked up the water glass, and handed it over. Before he could calm down, after a fit of heart-wrenching coughs, Uncle suddenly vomited a large pool of blood with a loud retch. Everyone was in a panic, and Mary rushed frantically to call for a doctor, but before she could run out of the ward, Uncle collapsed with a loud thud, falling straight to the ground and slipping into unconsciousness. My cousin's sister threw herself onto him, crying hysterically, while Jack, as if he had forgotten my existence entirely, hurried over to embrace her and whispered words of comfort. All right. Taking advantage of the chaos in the ward, I turned and left without hesitation. After getting home, I first took a hot shower, then I dialed a landline number saved in my phone. This was given to me by my grandmother, the contact information for Wendy, the spiritual medium from my hometown. I told Wendy, the spiritual medium, everything that had happened recently, completely and in detail, but unexpectedly, the person on the other end of the phone laughed out loud. "What kind of master is this? Clearly just an unscrupulous old Taoist who uses heretical tricks to swindle money and harm people everywhere, just some petty tricks that can't stand up to scrutiny, nothing to be afraid of, just you wait. Before I could even react, the shaman Wendy hung up the phone. I couldn't help but feel suspicious. Yet considering Wendy the psychic's stellar reputation across neighboring villages back home, I decided to trust her this once. After all, from my grandmother's accounts, I'd long known about her past successes. They were truly uncanny. After hanging up, I quickly packed some clothes and checked into a hotel near my office with my suitcase in tow. I'd only wanted some peace and quiet, but that very night, I received a call from the hospital. "Hello, are you Mary, Smith's family member? Their condition is very serious now. Please come to the hospital immediately." After hanging up the phone, I thought for a long time before finally putting on my clothes and heading out. When I arrived at the hospital, I found everything in chaos. Mary's face was pale, beads of sweat covering her forehead. "It hurts, my stomach hurts so much, doctor, it hurts so much." Her belly protruded irregularly, and upon closer inspection, there was a slight undulation. Upon examination, it was discovered that Mary's uterus harbored a nest of small mice. Before the doctors could perform surgery, Mary gave birth, much like childbirth, to a litter of red-skinned, still blind baby mice. All the medical staff were stunned by what they saw. Jack, who had been standing nearby pretending to be invisible, hurriedly ran away after witnessing this scene. Meanwhile, the uncle's condition worsened that very night. Despite his usual difficulty in moving due to a stroke, he was unusually active tonight. Cowering timidly, he curled up in the corner like a despicable rat that thrives in darkness. Suddenly, I remembered my father's situation from my past life. Perhaps they exchanged lives with the rat because of those 3 rat hairs, but now, it has nothing to do with me. I called my aunt who was working away to inform her, and after someone arrived at the hospital, I went back to the hotel to rest. After blocking Jack and Mary, I had a very relaxing period of time, but Jack's shamelessness still managed to shock me beyond belief. It wasn't until after my death in my previous life that I finally saw Jack's true colors as a freeloader. The only reason he pursued me back then was because I was the only child in my family, thinking that by marrying me, he could take control of my family's wealth. After getting together, he realized I wasn't the traditional type of woman he had in mind, so he teamed up with Mary. But now that Mary's family is in complete chaos, he naturally turned back to me. I chose to ignore Jack's relentless harassment, but in his desperation to live off others, he's reached a state where he'll stop at nothing. The moment I arrived at the office, I noticed my colleagues were giving me strange looks. It wasn't until a coworker sent me a live stream link that I understood what had happened. Jack's overly expressive face filled the phone screen, greasy with tears and snot, occasionally blowing snot bubbles. "Kathy, I know you're watching. Please, give me another chance. I know you look down on my family for being poor and my salary for being low, but I love you, and I will work hard to give you the life you want, I swear. Once I get my year-end bonus, I'll buy you that bag you like." Okay. Many netizens in the bullet comments were fooled by Jack's acting. They left messages one after another. "Damn, the female lead is in the live stream. Hurry up and look at this man, he's practically risking his life for you. Aren't you ashamed? Isn't this kind of woman just a gold digger, seeing her boyfriend isn't well off and can't fulfill her material desires, so she wants to break up? Seriously, she's totally embarrassing us women. What era is this already? Gender equality? Hello, hey handsome, look at me. I don't care if you're rich, just treat me well." The live chat was flooded with bullet comments, each one condemning me. The heat kept rising, and the number of viewers in the live stream quickly surged to 100,000. I scrutinized carefully for a long time before finally piecing together the whole story. Turns out Jack, that scumbag, couldn't reach me through any means, so he started a live stream. Playing the victim, he portrayed himself as a penniless warrior of pure love. Not only did he spend all his savings on me, his girlfriend, but he was also dumped for failing to satisfy my shopping desires. "Kathy, please, I really miss you. I'll agree to anything you ask. Just please don't break up with me." Jack's tearful pleas seemed pitiful, and the righteous netizens managed to dig up my information from the slightest clues. Many people were clamoring to teach me a lesson. Suppressing the urge to roll my eyes, I took leave from my manager and randomly found a hotel. I started a live stream and directly connected with Jack for a PK battle. The Jack on the other side put on a deeply affectionate expression the moment he saw me. "Kathy, have you forgiven me? Can we be good again? Let's get married." Although his tone was very sincere, I could see clearly the calculation and smugness hidden deep in his eyes. I ignored him. I directly posted the bills of our shared expenses since Jack and I started dating. Finally, I released the video I had kept earlier, showing Jack and Mary hooking up behind my back. This instantly caused an uproar. No way. Is this for real? Oh my god, this guy has no shame. How dare he call his girlfriend a gold digger? He's the real scumbag here. What a cunning scumbag. He actually deceived me. Soon, a storm of criticism erupted in the comments section, but this time, the target was Jack. Jack was left speechless, wanting to explain but unable to utter a word for a long time. Facing those eyes filled with hatred, I rolled my eyes at him dramatically, then ended the live stream without saying a word. But after calming down, I picked up my phone again and dialed that familiar number. Jack? Sigh. I was just too angry earlier, that's why. Wah, I'm just jealous of why you had to be with my cousin. As long as you're willing to cut all ties with Mary, I'll pretend none of this ever happened. Okay. Jack's heavy breathing, which had been somewhat rough, immediately quieted down after hearing my words. He responded obsequiously, "Don't worry, Kathy, don't you know me by now? We've been together for so many years, and you know perfectly well that you're the only one I love. What the hell is that Mary? Don't worry, I'll never see her again. It's just you and me from now on." I struggled to suppress the churning in my stomach, forced out a couple of sweet nothings in as normal a tone as possible, then made an excuse to hang up. After all, having been with Jack for so long, he knows everything about my life and work. If you push him too hard and he really chooses to give up completely, it will be counterproductive. The next day, I went to Jack's rented apartment under the pretext of a date. I gave him the safety charm that the psychic Wendy had sent me. "I went out of my way to get this for you. If you love me, you have to wear it every day." Jack grinned widely, happily wearing it around his neck, not forgetting to take photos and post them on social media. "My wife specially got this protective charm for me. Love you." I looked at my phone with satisfaction and couldn't help but laugh. Not long after, Mary came knocking at my door. It's only been a few months since we last met, but Mary looks completely different now. The once protruding belly had long flattened, replaced instead by layers of sagging fat. The whole person appeared significantly aged, with strands of white now mixed into the originally dark and glossy hair. She looked nothing like a woman in her 20s. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say she resembled an old woman. This must be the backlash from that so-called life-swapping dark magic. I intended to walk around her and leave directly, but she stopped me abruptly. When she saw that I wasn't affected in the slightest, and even looked more radiant than before, she screamed at me hysterically, "Kathy, what on earth have you done? Why have I become like this? I get it now. You're jealous of me, aren't you? You're jealous because I have Jack's love." At this point, I simply don't want to keep pretending with her anymore. "Mary, could you have some self-respect, being the other woman and still feeling superior, stealing your own cousin's boyfriend? Do you even have any sense of shame or morality? What? Don't tell me you still think I don't know about your schemes to harm me." Mary's face flushed crimson, her dark eye sockets slightly bulging, making her look utterly terrifying. "What do you mean, if you knew all along? Why bother pretending and deceiving me?" I couldn't help but laugh out loud, my tone dripping with sarcasm. "What do you think? Naturally, it's to ensure you reap what you sow. Look at yourself now. Isn't this just retribution?" As the words left my mouth, Mary's frayed nerves finally snapped. With a furious roar, she lunged at me. "Bitch, I want you dead," but with her body swaying unsteadily at every step. How could she possibly match me? Before she could get close, I swiftly dodged to the side and seized her hands from behind. Even though I temporarily subdued her, Mary continued to struggle relentlessly. Just as I was still struggling with what to do about her, a male voice suddenly came from not far away. "Bitch, what are you doing here looking for Kathy again?" Jack ran over panting heavily and delivered a flying kick, sending Mary sprawling far away. She collapsed onto the ground, looking incredulous after recognizing who had arrived. Jack, what are you doing? I'm Mary. Didn't you say that you loved me the most?" Jack glanced at her contemptuously, then spat. "What nonsense are you talking about? Just look at yourself, and you still say I love you the most. Looking at you like this, who would dare to love you? Besides, it was you bitch, who deceived me all along. You promised me a house in the city, otherwise why would I have betrayed Kathy? I've checked it all out. Your family is dirt poor, so shameless." Mary's eyes widened in shock. She was so angry at Jack that she was gasping for breath, her face turning purple. You You heartless bastard." A trickle of bright red slid from the corner of her mouth, but she paid it no mind, instead collapsing to the ground and laughing maniacally toward the sky. Ha ha, Kathy, you won, you really won, but you lost too. Did you know, your fiancé once held me in your bed making love, and said you were like an emotionless dead fish that killed his desire just by looking at you, and Jack. You bastard, did you think you could just use me and then kick me to the curb without consequences? Let me tell you, no way. If I'm going down, I'm taking you with me." Mary's words hit Jack where it hurt. Furious, he stormed over and started punching and kicking Mary. She kept cursing while hitting. "Bitch, damn slut, you're the real bitch. You deliberately talked nonsense in front of Kathy, didn't you? Did you think I'd accept you without Kathy? Let me tell you, never." Perhaps Mary had already given up hope. Faced with Jack's beating and curses, she didn't care at all. Instead, he burst into laughter. The next second, Mary lunged forward, pinning Jack beneath her. She pulled out a fruit knife from her pocket and stabbed it straight into his stomach. Soon, a large pool of blood spread across the ground. The bystanders gasped in shock, but Mary, far from being frightened by the sight of blood, bent down and began gnawing at the wound. Only then did I see clearly that Mary's teeth had also changed, 2 long front teeth gleaming with sharp edges, just like rodent teeth. Seeing that Jack had already fallen unconscious, I took advantage of nobody noticing and turned to leave. Truth be told, I had long anticipated Jack's fate. After all, what I gave him back then was no protective charm. I originally wanted to witness Jack's self-destruction with my own eyes. Perhaps heaven has eyes. Even fate couldn't tolerate such a villain and took this scourge away prematurely. After wrapping up the project at hand, I successfully seized the opportunity for a promotion. I took my annual leave early and planned to visit my parents. As soon as I entered the neighborhood, I saw a group of neighbors gathered together. Standing in the middle was Auntie, wearing a bitter expression as she poured out her troubles to everyone. Sigh, our family has really had a streak of bad luck this year. Our Mary finally got a chance to join a big company, but now she's gone completely mad. Forget about exams, she'll have to depend on me for support from now on, and my husband too. He got into a car accident out of nowhere, and the hit-and-run driver still hasn't been found. Just when my health had stabilized, my condition took a turn for the worse a couple of days ago, and now, I'm gone. I'm so exhausted, taking care of the elderly and raising the young, with the meager wages I earn from work. How am I supposed to survive in the future? I hid among the crowd and listened to every word. Andy's words might seem pitiful, but wasn't all of this the result of Mary's greed? After that, Jack and Mary seemed to disappear from my world without a trace. One day after work, I passed by the lottery shop at the company entrance. For some reason, I stopped in my tracks despite never being interested in such things before. Remembering how my uncle won the tens of millions lottery prize in my past life, I decisively walked into the shop and bought a ticket. What I didn't expect was that this lottery ticket actually won the 10 million grand prize. After cashing in the prize money, I still felt a sense of unreality. I immediately called the psychic Wendy and planned to give her some thanks, but psychic Wendy didn't agree. She just told me, "These originally belonged to you, and even if temporarily taken away, they will return to you in various ways." After hearing the stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.